Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
Greetings
to you,
from
sir.
Florida, my friend.
Well, greetings from Pennsylvania. How are you doing on this fine evening?
I'm doing okay. It's a little bit late. We know how I get when we get late. But we're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna try to get through last year's best and finest of all the categories of movie making. If that made sense.
Yes,
it probably didn't make a lot of sense.
We are doing our annual installment of A Year in Review, and what better year to take a look at than the previous year, 2019?
Sounds good. Well worded. I could not have worded it better.
Yeah, we're doing our 2019 A Year in Review episode, which means we're going to be taking a look back at our favorite television shows from last year, our favorite films from last year, and kind of, as you mentioned, many other aspects of films that we appreciated, even if they didn't quite make it into our favorites of the year. Maybe they were noteworthy in other respects, and so this is kind of our opportunity to shout them out for, cinematography, editing, whatever, something like that. And this is the third time we've done it. We've kind of tinkered with the formula each time, and this year will be no different on that front. So we have a lot of things that we're going to talk about. We aren't really going to do news on this episode or fun facts for that matter. Sorry, guys. Maybe we can intersperse some if they come across our desk, as we're talking about things. But it's kind of news, so I'm kind of cheating, but I did want to say something about the passing of Kobe Bryant. This is the first episode that we have recorded since his unfortunate passing in a helicopter crash just a few days ago from when we're recording this. And it's kind of a lot of complicated reactions to it. Meant so much to the basketball world, to the sports world. His 13-year-old daughter, passed away with him alongside 7 others that were in a helicopter that was flying in Calabasas, California. 41 years old, quite the shock. And regardless, I think, of his off-the-court issues, I think that it means a lot to people in the sports world. It means a lot to his family, and it's really just kind of the shock. And so since we're not really going to be talking about news either on this episode or the one after we do, or the one after this where we talk about a look ahead to 2020, I thought it'd be something to say, thought it'd be worth saying something to say rest in peace to him, best wishes to his family. And I guess, to tie things back to, our sphere, we don't really do the sports ball too much. But I do like sports. Kobe Bryant, even though basketball wasn't my favorite sport, isn't my favorite sport. Kobe Bryant's kind of synonymous with that sport. And he's actually an Academy Award winner. I don't know if you knew that.
What?
He wrote and narrated an animated short film back in 2017, not too long ago, that's based off of a letter that he wrote to the Players Tribune that announced his retirement from basketball. It's called Dear Basketball is the name of it. It's an animated short film, and it won the Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film at the 90th Academy Awards.
Wow.
Marking the first Oscar win for any professional athlete. And the first Oscar win for the director, Glenn Keane, who was a veteran Disney animator. So,
that's awesome.
So yes, he obviously is well known for his contribution to basketball, but later in his unfortunately too short life, he did also have something that was deemed pretty groundbreaking. Obviously, received recognition at the Academy Awards. So yes, obviously just a huge kind of blow to the basketball world, to really, I think, just kind of pop culture in general, I would say. And so rest in peace to Kobe and Gianna Bryant and the 7 others that were aboard that helicopter that crashed just a few days ago, earlier in January. So with that said, think the last time we did this, we talked about kind of celebrity deaths that happened throughout 2019. I thought we might remove that segment because I wanted to keep things a little bit lighter, but unfortunately, we're still kind of starting on a dour note. So it's up to us to pick things up from here on out. We're gonna do a hard tonal clash real quick, and just we're gonna be talking some good things on this episode. I hope, maybe some bad things too. We do have some negative categories that we typically include. One that we're bringing back for this year that we actually excised last year. We'll get into that shortly. But 2019, a year in review. I think we can kind of go ahead and kind of get into the thick of it. What I will say at the top, as I have said on episodes past, full spoiler warning for all the movies that we are discussing. I think it's fair to say we're going to try to avoid talking too much about anything in any particular detail, but inevitably things slip. Some of these things came out months ago. Some of these things maybe came out a few weeks ago. So it's your mileage may vary in terms of how you respond to that, but just be cognizant of that. We'll do our best to shield you from anything like too massive, such as Vader being Luke Skywalker's father. That sort of holy shit kind of reveal. Yeah. You thought you were out of Star Wars? Nope, more Star Wars. But and also these are our opinions. These are not facts. We may talk like. We know everything and we're right and you're wrong, but Andrew and I are going to disagree. Andrew and I are going to have different opinions here, and you're going to have differing opinions from us too, and that's totally great. We appreciate everyone's opinions, and we hope that you respect ours as well. Now, what comes with that territory is the fact that we haven't seen everything, especially in the TV world. I continued to be busy this year between school, having a girlfriend for really kind of one of the first times in my life. Pretty cool. I found out pretty cool, I must say. Not bad. She gave me permission. She gave me permission to blame her for taking away from some of my usual personal time to watch TV. So that
does take time, doesn't it?
That will be okay. It's time, effort, and it's rewarding. I will say that. So maybe I was missing out this whole time, right? But we just haven't seen everything. Game of Thrones also fucked up our lives for a good portion of time.
A good fucking long time. A good quarter of the fucking year, I feel like.
So that's part of it too, of course. But some of the things I know that I didn't see this year, The Irishman I didn't see. I didn't see The Farewell. I didn't see The Lighthouse. I'm sure there's others that Honey Boy I think I wanted to see, and I just didn't see everything. You can't see everything. There's TV shows I know for a fact. Most of the TV shows I feel like that are getting nominated for Emmys and Golden Globes and stuff, like, fuck, I didn't see any of these things. So it's unfortunate. Maybe we'll go back to them and revisit them at some point, but it is what it is. We're here now to talk about what we can talk about, and so talk about it we shall. I wanted to briefly talk about 2019 in terms of box office, because you know how I like my box office.
Those numbers.
And, we talk about box office throughout the year, but I think it's kind of interesting to do a retrospective and look at 2019. And I think what I did last year is I asked you a few questions, so I think I might keep in that. And I'm gonna give you a real softball right here. If you had to take a wild guess, what studio do you think accounted for the highest percentage of ticket sales in North America? If you had to guess.
I would guess Disney.
Wow, you got it. I mean, shocking. Shocking. Now, do you think that's because of their acquisition of 20th Century Fox, or do you think that's still in spite of that?
No, I think it's in spite of that.
That's correct. In fact, they have an unprecedented 33%, a third of the box office in America.
Holy shit.
From Disney, and that's without Fox. And when you add Fox in there, it jumps all of 5%.
God. Oh, that's not good. There's a monopoly on fucking entertainment, man.
So there's an interesting thing that happened. There was a new record of films topping $1 billion worldwide. Most of those Disney, of course, as you might expect. But I think there was, holy shit! I'm seeing. Well, I guess some of this is technically including grosses from 2020, getting lapped into there. But there's actually, what I'm seeing is 9 movies released in 2019 that have crossed $1 billion worldwide, and of them, 1, 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, 8 of 9 are Disney films. So there you have it.
God damn,
can you guess what the one non-Disney film is that crossed the $1 billion threshold? We've talked about it, so it's probably not too shocking.
Joker?
Joker's the only one that is a non-Disney. The others are Avengers Endgame, The Lion King, Frozen 2, Spider-Man Far From Home, Captain Marvel, Toy Story 4, Aladdin, and Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. All crossed $1 billion worldwide.
Disney buying Marvel, dude. That happened That happened a long time ago, right?
Yeah, it's been a few years since that happened.
What a fucking acquisition. What a move.
Yeah, I mean, all of it. Lucasfilm, Pixar, that's all there. I mean, Frozen 2's in-house, but Toy Story 4 is Pixar. Star Wars, again, Lucasfilm. So Marvel, obviously, is the big one there. I mean, Avengers Endgame is the highest-grossing film of all time. That's pretty fucking big, right? $2.8 billion worldwide against an $858 million gross in North America alone. I mean, those are mind-boggling numbers. I mean, absolutely mind-boggling. Disney is the first studio ever to surpass $10 billion of the worldwide box office in a single year. That's another figure for you, and it's owing to those movies I just mentioned. I mean, each of them is north of $1 billion each, and Avengers is the only one that crossed $2 billion and damn near got to $3 billion by itself. So,
and that's just, I mean, you think about those. I mean, yeah, they have the titles, but at the same time, they own the production companies. They own, you know what I mean? You don't know about the figures for when somebody films they film scenes within their studios or whatever, you know? There's aspects of their money making shit you have no idea about. Things that you just don't think about.
Yeah. No, it's
fucking crazy.
It's crazy. It's definitely crazy. Disney, it wasn't all, sunshines and rainbows for Disney. Dumbo was not great. A lot of the Fox titles that came out as part of their acquisition didn't do so hot. So, it's not everything was great, but on the whole, I think
they made a lot of money.
They'll be comfortable taking the losses that they did compared to the wins that they had.
And see, therein lies the problem with them owning fucking everything. You know what I mean?
Well,
when
it's not a monopoly by the definition of the word monopoly. It's not.
No, it's not.
It's just that they, whether it's coincidence or whether it's some matter of strategy, they just happen to be making the movies that people give a fuck about. I mean, it's kind of what it comes down to. Is compare it to, like, DC could be owning the world, right? Or WB via DC could have had that sort of success that Disney is now having with Marvel, and they screwed the pooch, and maybe they're recovering in some respects, maybe not so much in others. They haven't been able to capture that.
They don't have a 30% market share on fucking entertainment.
And Sony's going to put out Morbius and their Venoms, and they're going to try all they can, but I think even that's not going to capture that. So it's kind of like, how do you do it? How do you have that sort of success? And it comes down to IPs, and
that's it.
I think Disney just currently has those IPs that are so phenomenally successful right now. Maybe it doesn't last. I think it's going to be this way for the foreseeable future. Given the Fox acquisition, the rich are just kind of getting richer. Not that, they had to spend billions of dollars to get that, but I think long run you'll still see kind of the payoff for them in the way that those Lucasfilm and Marvel acquisitions have now really, really
paid off.
Started to pay off. Yeah, I mean, they have for a while.
They paid for themselves
easily.
Fucking many times over.
Many times over, correct. Yes, yeah. I would agree with that. So,
and not just in box office tickets. I mean, you're talking merchandising, you're talking all sorts of shit. So it's ridiculous the amount of money Disney is making.
Yeah, so for the other studios, things weren't quite as hot. WB, Joker aside, had a lot of disappointments. The Goldfinch was a bomb. Dr. Sleep didn't do too well for what it cost. There's a few others in there that were kind of just didn't hit it big. Even franchise films that didn't hit it big: Terminator, Dark Fate, Men in Black International, Dark Phoenix. A lot in there that maybe in some version of these are better films, and maybe they do better as a result of that, but it just seems like those IPs just aren't hitting it big in the way that the Disney IPs are. But there are some, there's some that, are kind of middling, or, good performers, but not top tier performers. You have your How to Train Your Dragon for Universal. Us did very well. Hobbs and Shaw did very well. Fast and Furious is a successful franchise, but still not quite reaching that level. And then you have Cats, So what are you going to do?
I mean, I guess it's not a surprise. You have all these wonderful movies that Disney makes, and then you have a lot of shithouse movies that everybody else seems to make. It's like, oh, well, no wonder they're making money. Look, we have Cats. Of course, I'm going to go see this other movie over Cats. I don't know.
Yeah, well, don't put out Cats next to Star Wars. It's probably a sound strategy. Cats might have done just fine, and a January where nothing came out, nothing came out, or a February where nothing came out. Like, there are ways to make the exact same movies do better than they do, and of course, that's what marketing is making people want to see things, and sometimes marketing doesn't always do their job as well as you'd hope. So that's always a factor. But sometimes it's also just being like, hey, maybe just don't make that fucking thing. Or, Gemini Man's kind of like all right, well, did you expect that to do well when you looked at the final product? So there's certain things like that. But Sony did okay. Spider-Man Far From Home, Jumanji, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There's movies out there that did really well for kind of what they are, even if they're not blowing the doors down in the way that Disney's doing. Like, they're for what they are. You absolutely cannot knock it, and some of them have been really impressive. So that's kind of the box office story of 2019. Disney continuing to own anything and fucking everything in sight. So
hey, that's doing good. We'll fucking buy it.
Last year,
if it's doing good, we'll buy it. That's Disney's motto.
Yeah, well,
can you blame them?
They have the capital for it. So, but it is what it is. So yeah, that's kind of the box office side of things. I want to ask you just kind of briefly, and then we'll jump into our TV awards. How do you feel about 2019? You think it was a good year for movies, TV shows? Do you feel good about it? Do you feel like it's been better or worse compared to the past few years, on par or anything like that?
I think it's probably on par. I caught a lot of really good movies at the end of the year, just watching them here at home. I tried my best to get caught up on like this sort of, highfalutin film, if you will.
Yeah.
And I tried my best to get caught up on it so I'd be educated on it. I didn't catch near enough. There's movies that I hadn't seen that I kind of wish I'd seen. Bombshell is one of those movies. I will admit that. That movie looked pretty good. That one movie about the bomb. There was a bomb. It was a Clint Eastwood movie, I think.
Richard Jewell came out. Yeah.
I wanted to catch that. I wanted to catch Bombshell. And I wanted to catch Jojo Rabbit. Those are three movies that I wished I seen that I had not seen. So, with that being said, I haven't seen those movies, but I think that 2019 had some pretty compelling films in it. I thought it was pretty good. Pretty good years for movies.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it when we kind of get into, our top films for the year towards the end of the episode. But it's always tough. It's always tough, even just narrowing it down to 10 between honorable mentions and your top 5 for the year. There's just so many good films out there. There's a lot of films out there that I really enjoyed that didn't make the cut, and I probably won't talk about them in any sort of other capacity. Maybe you will. I enjoyed and a lot of movies that we covered throughout the year, and it's nice to have a record of us talking about it so I can go back and revisit and kind of see hear our thoughts on it. But stuff that I know that I'm like, it just didn't leave enough of an impact, or, if it did this one thing better, maybe it'd be kind of right there. Like the Elitas of the world, I really enjoyed. Like John Wick, I fucking really, really enjoyed. What a great action flick, but I'm not sure that I will really talk about it, in any sort of depth beyond that. Lego Movie I enjoyed towards the beginning of the year. And I like Dr. Sleep, maybe it didn't do well, but I really enjoyed it. I think that's
I started that audiobook, by the way.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice. Peanut Butter Falcon, I think I talked about a little while ago. Another really good one. But, some things just kind of fall by the wayside. I'm probably forgetting about movies that I saw, and, maybe it's unfair to say, and there's almost certainly recency bias with a lot of the things that we're going to talk about now. It's just kind of how it always works out. But I'm probably just forgetting about things, and maybe that's because they weren't that memorable and they didn't stick out to me, or maybe it's because I saw them 10 months ago and it was technically 2019, but fuck, I don't remember that far back, So I tried to do my best to find, an exhaustive list of movies, whittle it down to my top choices, and take the opportunity to shout out TV shows, movies for whatever aspect that I think is worthy of merit. So that's kind of it. I think 2019, I would agree. It's probably more or less the same. There's really some incredible films that I really, really enjoyed this year. Some stinkers in the bunch. But
we've got a lot of stinkers.
That's every year for you.
There's a lot of stinkers this year. We went and saw some really shitty movies. We have.
Yeah, well.
We'll get into it. Yeah, we'll talk. Well, I know I'm going to fucking talk about them. I know that. Wasting my fucking time going to watch this shit.
All right. Well, I think maybe we're wasting our time not talking about it just yet. So let's do some television, man. We always have less television to talk about because we just don't watch enough of it to really justifiably be able to say this is the best screenplay
I know what the
for
worst
this episode and such, but the worst television show. So this is interesting. We actually got rid of the worst television show award last year because we're like, I don't think we saw anything that was like so egregiously bad that like we really need to like.
We spent
pick on
half
something.
the fucking year watching
But
the worst television
this year-
show in history. Yes,
This year is a little different. It's a little different. We brought it back. Worst television show of the year, of course, goes to
Game of Thrones, hands
Game
down.
of Thrones, season 8, an abomination. An absolute abomination.
It makes it worse that we made an effort to watch every single fucking episode of the series.
We spent countless hours of our lives. Well, you could probably count them up if you put the math in, but that would require more effort.
And
than
I don't
David
want you
Benioff
to,
and D.B. Weiss put into writing the scripts for Game of Thrones season 8.
I don't want you to tell me how much time I've put into
You're right.
watching
I don't want to
it.
know either. That's absolutely true. I do not want to know. I do know that we did 8 fucking separate episodes for each season. So we spent a lot of time even between, not even just watching the fucking show, talking about the show, editing fucking episodes about the show, putting them out for the listeners. And like, I hope everyone enjoyed our coverage. And to be honest, I loved watching the early seasons of Game of Thrones again because they're fucking great. But man, to see that sharp decline in the show and even through season 7, it was not good, but never that bad. And then season 8, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Bad. It was tough, dude.
It's
tough
honestly
thing.
just so bad.
It was honestly insulting. It's like fuck you, DB Wise and shit. Whatever your names are. God
it's not
damn.
It's not even just that it was disappointing and like, oh, I wanted it to go this way and it didn't. No, it was just poorly fucking made. Like, like complete lazy writing for the most part. Bad dialogue. I guess some of the technical stuff was fine, and the crew did their best, and people like Emilia Clarke put in fucking series best acting somehow. But all things considered, it was just so bad, and
it's insulting.
Without a doubt, it's the worst television show.
Pisses me off. Like
of 2019.
If I could meet the directors of this show,
yes,
the producers or whatever, the writers, whatever, I would be actively mad at them. I would be angry. You wasted all my time. And it's not like, hey, listen, it's not like we were sitting here waiting for episode 8. We went through your whole series that you produced. You made all these shows, and this is what I spent all this time doing. Fuck you, man.
Yes, I
fuck you. That's how I feel about it.
Fuck you.
And we have a. I don't say that about a lot of things. And there's a lot of aspects to filmmaking and everything that I don't presume to know, okay? But when I record a podcast on it and I sit here and I spend hours and hours and hours and hours watching the shit, and it just gets shittier and shittier and shittier, and I'm having to watch it, talk about it. It's like, no, fuck you, DB Wise. Just throw this bottle of wine in his head. That's what I would do.
This was supposed to be a fun project that we did in our spare time, not a fucking chore.
Right, exactly. So, anyways,
Yes.
Worst show, Game of Thrones. Don't fucking watch it. It's a waste of your time. It'll piss you off.
Stop at season 4.
At season
through
4.
Watch through season 4 and call it a day. You're
That's
good. You're fine. You'll be fine. All right. Well, so that's the worst television show. I don't think I quite gave you the option. I might have given myself the option. I'm going to invent a category right now.
Okay.
Because I'm watching something and I haven't finished it yet. It's a 2019 show. So we're going to do top 5 television shows ranked in order very soon. But I wanted to see if you had any honorable mentions. I think you might have an analog here. Once I explain, you may agree. I'm watching Watchmen right now. The HBO series Watchmen. I'm a third of the way through it, 3 of 9. It's fucking awesome.
Is it really?
And
I haven't watched any
I'm
of
really
it.
enjoying it. I mean, Damon Lindelof, writer on Lost, creator of The Leftovers, kind of a controversial figure. I think people either love him or hate him in terms of just kind of how he works on shows. I think he's done such a great job of basically what is effectively a sequel of sorts to the graphic novel. It takes place, I think 30 years basically later. Some of the characters that survive the events of the novel appear, and it picks up in a world that is, kind of reacting to, a giant squid that's kind of united the world
squid?
powers. Yeah. So it's connected to the book, not to the movie's ending.
All right. Yeah.
And it feels so authentically Watchmen, while not just being either an adaptation of it or a carbon copy of it. It feels really like it understands the themes, and I'm sure Alan Moore fucking hates it because he hates everything at this point. But I really do feel like it's done at least a third of the way through such an excellent job of understanding like the themes behind the work and incorporating them and updating them for kind of to touch on modern things. There's a lot of like race politics that I mean, it's huge thing. I mean, the show opens with basically, I think it's called like the Black Wall Street Massacre, and it happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it's an actual real life event that they depicted and kind of have used to kind of spark kind of certain things that are happening. Basically, there's a lot of police brutality, white supremacy. Like there's just a lot in it that really deals with current
relevant, right?
Politics and current issues in our society, and it does such a great job of integrating them with this kind of comic book influence kind of world of superheroes and Dr. Manhattan and it's really
I think
incredible.
that's kind of what made Watchmen so good as a book, right? I mean, even though
absolutely it was political, but it was responsive to the issues at the time.
Right.
And this is the same way. It's political, responsive to the issues of
our time,
today's time, of our time, and it does it in a way that still feels authentically Watchmen in terms of how it tackles those themes, and the characters are so well realized. It's really well performed. It's a beautiful show.
Only one season though, right? Like it's been canceled.
It's only going to be one season, yeah. So it's kind of its own thing, which is kind of cool. I mean, I respect that. So I'm only a third of the way through it. I can guarantee, unless the latter 6 episodes shit the bed in some respect, this would have been in my top 5 for the year. So I'm saying that it's an honorable mention for me, but it's a likely top 5 is probably what it would have been. But since I'm not finished with it, I can't, in good faith, actually place it in my top 5. So yeah, I'm talking about Watchmen.
Okay, if you say that, I'm not going to have a top 5 because I can't think of 5 television shows that I've watched. But
okay,
Expanse is a
that
show
was my expected analog for you, since you haven't.
Expanse is my number 5. I put it as my number 5 simply because I have not finished it.
Fair enough. This would be my number 6 then, let's say. Not really. It's loosely my number 7 because I do have an actual honorable mention. But yeah, The Expanse.
Fuck. You've watched way more television than I have. Maybe I'm not thinking of something. We'll talk about it. I don't know.
Maybe.
But anyways, I put Expanse as my number 5. I haven't finished it. I'm like 4 episodes in, I think, out of 8, I want to say.
8 or 10, yeah.
And it's really good. It's really good. I'm pumped up to finish it. But I haven't finished it, so I can't
It's hard. Yeah, it's probably likely to be higher in your list. Probably but,
higher or I could at least place it. I could at least place it. I mean, it could go up 1 or 2 levels, I suppose, depending on how it ends up wrapping up. Because Expanse has a tendency to ramp up in excitement and production values as it goes on. But
sure.
As it stands right now, I put it as number 5 because I haven't finished it, and that's where I'm kind of at right now. I don't know if you want to start with your number 5 because you have an honorable mention. Do you want to start with your honorable mention?
I'll throw my honorable mention out there. It's The Witcher.
Okay,
it's my number 6. It would be my number 6. It was hard. I there was actually one thing I forgot, and I was just like, oh, I gotta bump something out, and The Witcher was kind of the one that fell by the wayside. Really like it, enjoy it. I think we'll hopefully talk about it soon on its own separate episode, so I don't need to get too much in details. But production values are great. Henry Cavill's awesome. I love the fantasy setting, and so yeah, it's just a cool fucking show. I know I enjoy it. I don't think it's the best thing that I've seen this year, obviously. But I really, really enjoyed it and would highly recommend it enough that, if I am ranking things in order, putting it number 6, I'm comfortable with. So, yeah, I can get in my number 5 if you want me to do that.
Yeah, go into your number 5.
I have The Good Place season 3 at number 5. Okay. So I kind of had to figure out how I wanted to do this because The Good Place season 3 finished airing in 2019 and season 4 started airing but hasn't finished yet. So it's kind of a what do I do? I asked Anna. She said pick the season that ended in 2019. So that's what I did. So I picked season 3. So Good Place season 4 is a contender for next year's awards a year from now, roughly. Good Place. It's actually the only quote unquote comedy I have on my list. I think it's nice to have a little balance in your life, and it's good to have some comedy in your life, good to have a little levity in your life, and The Good Place is an excellent source of that. Seasons 1 through 3 are on Netflix, so I would recommend anyone seeking, kind of a lighter fare, some comedy, to seek out The Good Place. It's a great, great show with an excellent cast. Ted Danson, Kristen Bell are both... they're so good. Everyone else in it is great, but those are kind of the biggest names I think in it. I love it. I absolutely love The Good Place. It's my number 5 because it's, I guess in a way, by default, kind of the funniest thing that I watched on TV in 2019, and for that I just really appreciated it. So yeah, check it out. That's my number 5. What do you have?
The Expanse. Already talked about it.
Okay, sure. So we don't need to rehash that. Then
number 4.
My number 4 is season 1 of The Boys over on Amazon Prime.
Good pick. Never watched it.
As we've talked about it, I think a couple times in our catching up sections. I definitely think it's a show you would very much enjoy. It's not for everyone, as I think I probably also mentioned, but it would be for you, I think. It's a super fun send up of superheroes, and basically everyone's a super asshole is kind of the gist of it. But it's what if superheroes, but kind of in a real world where you have a Superman like character that has heat vision that doesn't have a moral compass, and so he just will use his laser vision to cut terrorists literally in half. And such. So it's it's gory, it's visceral, it's really shocking at times. There's lots of violence, there's lots of blood, and which is why I say it's not for everyone. But I think at its core, it does a really, really good job of kind of. It's not even so much like kind of making fun of like superheroes or like lampshading that. It's really about like celebrity status. Like the superheroes are celebrities basically, and it's kind of just breaking down like, why do we worship these fucking people? Because some of them are just fucking assholes and pieces of shit. And
that's a good commentary on like the way things are, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's good, and it does it through that lens of superheroes, and and maybe this show has more viewership because people like superheroes, see Disney's box office figures we discussed. But it does a really great job of that. The production values are excellent. The acting is excellent. Carl Urban's accent isn't that excellent, but it's fun, and I fucking dig it anyway. So
everybody
cool.
likes Carl Urban.
And Carl Urban's great. So I will hear no bad things about Carl Urban. I really enjoyed it. It's on Amazon Prime for anyone that wants to check it out. Season 2 is coming out later this year. and I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's super fun, super enjoyable. Definitely something. It's 8 episodes, so it's each one
Tight.
about an hour each, so tight. And it's again one I think that if you find the time, I think you'd enjoy it. But maybe Sarah wouldn't. I don't know. So that's my number 4. What's yours?
Stranger Things is my number 4.
Stranger Things 3. Okay.
Yep, Stranger Things 3 is my number 4. I watched some, I enjoyed Stranger Things a whole lot. I enjoyed the originality of some other things a little bit more.
Okay. Sure.
So I put it, and I hadn't watched a lot of TV. I mean, the from 1 to 4 is the amount of TV that I actually watched. Do you know what I mean? So I had to.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I kind of had to just pick what I'd seen and kind of rank it.
Right.
There wasn't a whole lot of choices. Not in the way that film's hard. Like we're like, oh, I've seen a lot. I have to figure this out. But TV is a little easier.
TV's a little easier. I rank Stranger Things 4 because it's, I don't know. I think there's more original content out there. Stranger Things is it's cool. I really enjoy it. It's right up there. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with it, but I think there's things that really started to scratch an itch that hasn't been scratched in a long time. And so I elevated those other ones more. So, I don't know. Not a lot to say about Stranger Things.
I gotcha. I might have some things to say about it, given that it's my number 3.
There you go. What do you got?
Number 3, Stranger Things 3. I definitely better than season 2. Maybe not quite as good as season 1, but I really liked Stranger Things 3. I think it was closer to season 1.
It's true.
In terms of tone and feel. And I think it did I really, I think it was just such a fucking fun season. Like, I never was bored watching it. It was always entertaining. You could tell the production values continued to go up.
Which was good.
Yeah, they gave you interesting characters. They gave you some new characters that were endearing. Robin, I think, was particularly a great addition to the cast. Yep. One that I think we can look forward to hopefully seeing her, more in Stranger Things 4. I think they did just a good job of making the humor work, and tackling certain like adolescence and stuff like that. The kids are getting older, and and Mike and Elle just want to make out all the time, and Will just wants to play D&D all the time. It is what it is.
Can't blame both of them,
Yeah, and it's just, I think it's a fun thing for them to tackle, and it makes sense given everyone's getting older, and it does a good job, I think, of kind of tackling those things, tying it together with the Upside Down, the intrigue that we know and love kind of from the beginning. We had the mall setting was super fun. The Russians coming in was fun. Fucking Russian Terminator guy was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah,
there's just a lot of fun stuff in it. I really enjoyed it. And David Hopper is always enjoyable. He had his badass Hawaiian shirt this time around. It was just a really fucking fun season. Like, yeah. And I think I would say maybe there's one thing ahead of this. I think that's a little bit more rewatchable for me for another reason, but this might be one of the most rewatchable like TV shows, I think. Like I don't think we're going to go back and do when Stranger Things 8 comes out that we're going to go back and do a big Stranger Things 1 through 7 coverage, but I could easily pop on an episode of Stranger Things 3 and take it in and enjoy it and not feel like it's busy work. I really do. Whereas some other shows, in spite of how excellent they were, I'm not sure that I really want to revisit them anytime soon. We'll talk about that. But that's my number 3, Stranger Things 3. Really enjoyed it. So what's your number 3?
Number 3 for me is The Witcher.
All right.
You were here when I experienced The Witcher.
You're sucked in.
I was sucked in from the get-go. I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. I feel like this pick is kind of me accepting the fact that I don't think it's the best show ever made. I think it's got its shortcomings. I think that I think it could have been better in a lot of different ways. But I enjoyed the show. I definitely enjoyed the show, and I enjoyed its. I think I enjoy the IP more than anything else. But Henry Cavill is fucking cool. The universe that they make is cool.
Yeah, I think it's a show that sets up for better seasons to come.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it's a good introductory piece, but I feel like there's a version where seasons 2, 3, 4, whatever, just build on what's been set and do it kind of in a better way.
Sure,
you know,
definitely.
And I you know, we'll talk about it in more detail, so I don't want to get too bogged down in it. But yeah, I think it's a little uneven. I think some of that's due to the structure of it in terms of how they laid the show out.
Yeah, that's the biggest shortcoming of the show. We'll
and
talk
I think
about
that's
it
why I think that's why future seasons will, I think, hopefully work a little better. So I wouldn't be. I think I will definitely be in for a Witcher season 2. The
biggest shortcoming of the show is how it was pieced together, how they chose to.
Yeah, I just don't think it worked as a storytelling device as well as I think they probably hoped it would.
And I don't think they need to worry about that in future seasons. So I think moving forward, I think it would be cool. But the IP I think just the IP in general is really cool. I think Henry Cavill is great. I think that a lot of the characters that they introduced in the show are awesome. And you got yourself a fantasy setting show, which is cool, man. I'm excited about it. Yeah. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't want to put it down. I really didn't. So for that, I don't know. I just thought
I saw it myself. You just kept blazing through. I was trying to write a paper over here, and you're just like, I'm just gonna keep fucking watching The Witcher. And then I was just like, well, I have to go back and rewatch those episodes. And now you're like, all right,
I'll watch them again. Fuck it, I don't care. I like it. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the show. So you know, for that reason, I picked The Witcher over Stranger Things. Not that there's anything wrong with Stranger Things, but I just, you know, you don't get Witcher stuff a whole lot, you know? It's like it's like watching Lord of the Rings. It's like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll watch Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings. What are you going to watch that's similar to Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I feel like it's the first like proper fantasy thing and like adapted fantasy thing that's really kind of hit the mark.
Yeah, right?
Like, so I feel like a lot of it's kind of dipped into like YA type stuff and hasn't worked super well. And Game of Thrones really isn't. It's more drama than fantasy, I think. Right, so it's not quite the same level. Whereas The Witcher is elves and dwarves and magic. You know, it's all the fantasy tropes you'd expect, but it's done well, and like that's the joy of it. You know.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I picked that one. What do you got for number 2?
My number 2 is The Mandalorian.
Fuck yeah, The Mando. Yes.
The Mandalorian we over on Disney Plus.
We agree on this one.
We have a shared number 2?
Yeah, shared number 2. We probably have a shared number 1
I think we'll have a shared number 1. I loved The Mandalorian. I think that there's a couple episodes in the middle that weren't quite up to the levels of the kind of the episodes on either side of it, but those first few episodes were so fucking awesome. The last couple episodes were so badass. And, you know, it's fucking Star Wars, man. You know, I think what I was talking about with Stranger Things is like, this is, you know, rewatchable. But, like, The Mandalorian, like, you know, at first I was a little disappointed that the episodes were as short as they were. But I think as, like, a kind of 8-episode kind of thing that does it's, like you could plow through this,
dude.
You could plow through this season in a day and be happy with it. And, like, fucking watch it the next day and just
my sister's
be happy to do it again.
My sister's boyfriend had not watched any of it.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, listen, you need to, because he loves Star Wars. And when we went up to Georgia a couple months ago or a month ago or whatever it was, I told him, it's like, listen, you need to, it was New Year's. I said, you need to watch The Mando. You need to get through it. So anyways, he ground through it in like a couple of days and we watched the finale together.
Yeah. Oh, the finale, man, is so good.
So good. I'd actually
Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi, yes. And actually, since he has since he's in talks to have his own Star Wars movie or whatever,
his own Star Wars movie,
I'm all about it. He thoroughly understands Star Wars, and I think that's my favorite thing about the show is the fact that it feels more Star Wars than the recent sequel trilogy feels like Star Wars.
No, I think so too.
It feels authentic Star Wars, which is fucking cool, considering that there's no. I mean, I guess you got Baby Yoda, you know, but there's a big disconnect between the Jedi and this and that. It just feels like fucking space opera. It feels like fucking Star Wars, which is cool. And
it's more Star Wars in setting and tone and feel than it is in terms of story. But I think the sequel trilogy did the story and kind of tried to do some other things while recycling some things, and then this was just like, no, let's just do a fucking Western gunslinger story, and he just happens to be on a desert planet every now and then, and happens to come across a Jawa every now and then, happens to come across a little Yiddle, a little baby Yoda like creature.
Cool, man. It's a really good movie, or not movie. It's a really good show.
It would be a fucking good movie too. You could definitely cut it down. You'd lose some things, but yeah,
it's man,
it's good. It's really good, and it's enjoyable. It's rewatchable. It's authentic Star Wars. It's authentic Star Wars. Ludwig Göransson's score is so good,
so good. I was gonna put it as my score for the fucking our picks.
Oh yeah.
But they're so short, So
Yeah.
I felt it's like I can't, in good faith, I can't give it the score when they're like a minute and a half. Fucking.
Just as a side note,
yeah,
I forgot to mention, Watchmen is scored by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, aka
Holy
9 Inch
shit.
Nails. Fucking awesome.
I
It's
bet
amazing.
it is. Holy shit.
So anyway, The Mandalorian. Sorry, I just had to get that in there.
Mandalorian's got good scores too, though.
Excellent score. Love it. Yeah, it's great. The episodes are cool. Again, they're like kind of one-off type things for the most part. They do build to ahead, by the end of the series, obviously. But just everything about like the production just feels so.
You see how they shot it too?
Yeah, like I don't know, something about it just feels so. It's not just authentic, but it feels like it's really coming from a place of love. Like Johnny V, Jon Favreau, really went for it, and he fucking nailed it. And all the players involved.
That first
Dave
intro
Filoni.
episode, where he pulls them through the fucking doors that fucking like circle down on them.
Yeah.
Oh man,
You're in from that point.
Yeah. It's a really cool show.
It's so well made, and it really did stick the landing. And fuck,
in a lot of
season
ways,
2 is,
I like this more than I like any Star Wars thing that's come out in a very long time.
yeah, maybe.
It's ultimate Star Wars. It's very good. Very, very,
very
very
good. It's definitely yeah. I would agree. All right, shall we get into our collective number one? We will be talking about The Mandalorian again on a future episode at some point, so we can exhaust some more fleshed out thoughts at that point.
Good. Yeah, good point. Number one for me is Chernobyl.
Number one for me is also Chernobyl. Chernobyl?
Yeah.
Yes.
Share a noble.
Well, okay, so what happened with this? I think you watched it first, and then you were singing its praises, then I watched it, right? Is that how it worked? Does that sound right to you?
I think so. I took a dive, and it blew my fucking mind. It was intense. Yeah. It was awesome.
I think, if nothing else, this is the most well-made show. Maybe that, not just that I've watched, but maybe of all television. I mean, I don't know. Again, I can't really make that claim because I haven't seen everything, or I haven't seen enough to really, but this show is so fucking well made that it's hard for me to imagine something that like in terms of production values comes close.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I can't. It's
but I also,
a 6-hour movie or whatever.
It's not number one for me or probably for you because of that. Just because of that. It's also partially because of that, of course. But like this fucking shit wallops you. It hits you right in the fucking chest. It's a heavy ass show. And this is not a rewatchable show. I don't think. I would rewatch it, but I'd have to prepare for it, I guess.
In talking to you and talking about it and recognizing it for the show that it is, I think I'd watch it again. I actually feel
I would too.
I feel compelled to watch it again.
But again, it's one you gotta. I think you gotta buckle up for it. And even when you know what's coming, I still feel like it would hit you in all those, and in the same ways I think that it did the first time through when you didn't quite know what to expect with it.
That's right. It's an incredible show. I mean, it's even more so. Just it's a tour de force, if you will.
Tour de force, yes.
Tour
recurring
de
theme
force
of the Watch Review Repeat podcast lately.
That it's all real factual shit.
Right. Yeah, there's very little fiction. There is some kind of substitute. Then I think some characters are kind of
whatever,
stand-ins or whatever. But it's
this shit
basically
fucking happened.
Yeah,
and that makes it all the more just mind blowing, and just
And not that long ago in the scheme of things either.
No, not that long ago at all. You know, I mean, under our current leadership, you can kind of fucking see this shit happening, and it's astonishing. It's just, I mean, it blows your mind. Yeah, I can't recommend the show enough. Just on the fact that, you know, even if you don't think you'll like it, the fact that it's factual things that happened and how our government and how a government handled the things that happened, it makes it worth watching. It's like it's very seldom do you catch television, or do you catch a movie, or do you catch any sort of entertainment that you should watch because it is something that pertains to you, and how something that invokes on your life. You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't
escapist entertainment. This is like, hey, let me learn you something kind of thing. Like that's
exactly. Yeah.
And it's not really a bad way to learn about basically what happened, you know, because it is largely derived from real life things that happened. And no, it's I think it's been praised for basically its historical accuracy. So it's, you know, it's a way to engage with the past so that you can learn about the things that happened and keep your eye out for shit like this to prevent it. You know, it's so easy. It doesn't even have to be a nuclear, you know, meltdown that happens in the future that to evoke, I think, similarities to what happened at Chernobyl. It's the failure of bureaucracy, which is all too fucking common. And so there's things that I think you could glean from this and just trying to be more aware in your life of just how the fucking world works. Like I think it can still shed that sort of light for you. And
Absolutely.
So it's valuable from that, while also still being just, hey, a fucking incredibly well-made show that's got some amazing performances in it. Jared Harris, Stellan Skarsgård among them. So yeah, there's a lot in Chernobyl beyond just being a fucking TV
right
show.
There, it's valuable. It's valuable entertainment. Like there's something that you can gain from it. And
sure.
You know, there's something to be said about entertainment, and there's something that's to be said about valuable entertainment and something that betters yourself. And I think that watching something like this can have lasting impacts on you as a person. And I think that's what makes that show leaps and bounds better than the other things that we watched this year. And we didn't watch everything, but
everything.
I'm willing to bet that there's nothing that touches this show.
I'm willing to bet that this would still firmly be entrenched into my top 5. I'm willing to open up to the possibility that something would dethrone it for one reason or another, but it's such an incredible piece of work.
I don't think
it's hard for me to imagine anything else being
United States politics being what it is, one reason or another, one argument or the other, it doesn't make a difference. I think that just the show being what it is, I don't think it could be dethroned as number 1. I really don't. No. I don't think it could be dethroned as number 1 from last year. I can't think of another show that's topped this show in a very, very long time. I think this might be the best show I've ever watched. I think I could. I think I can wholeheartedly say that. It blew my fucking mind. It is an incredible show. We should have probably done an episode on it, but yeah, I can't think of anything that's ever topped this show. I really can't.
Well,
it
sounds like people should fucking watch Chernobyl. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody owes it to themselves to watch this show. I recommend this show to people at work. There's a guy that I sold a car to. He actually inspects like these giant I don't know. He inspects housing units for like fuel and like depots and stuff, like different gases and different fuels and petroleum and blah 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 blah, natural gas. It's all these different. He goes around the country inspecting these containers, right? And they're huge. They're huge containers. I told him, I was like, listen, you should watch Chernobyl, dude. It's on HBO. It's really good. And you sit there and you walk around with like detectors and stuff to see if the things are leaking and whatnot. The show's all about you. You need to watch it. So I don't know if you watched it or not, but I recommend it to people at work. It's such a good show.
Yeah.
It's good,
Yeah.
man. Anyways,
Chernobyl. It's Watch Review Repeats Collective #1. So that's high praise. We stand by it, and you guys should check out Chernobyl on HBO. So that concludes our coverage of television for 2019. But of course, we have many a film to talk about for 2019. So let's just go ahead and switch gears and talk about the worst film of 2019. I'm going to kick it over to you.
So,
What'd you end up with here? Were there a few that you're wrestling with? I feel like you kind of talked about some stinkers in the bunch.
No.
But you had a clear-cut #1?
Clear-cut #1. My clear...
I think we have to have a consensus here. I'm going to be shocked if we don't, but I'll let you say what you think.
My clear-cut #1 is fucking Hellboy.
Oh, God, it's so bad. It's without a doubt Hellboy. What a fucking absolute piece of shit this movie was.
All I could think about is that fucking guy, the fucking guy that was the ghost.
Ian McShane, Hellboy. The fucking floating head coming out of the body. Oh my God.
It was bad.
I think we called it when we recorded on the episode, and we're just like, this has to be the worst fucking movie of the year. Right? There's absolutely no way that anything is worse than this, and I think we were correct. We might have avoided some movies that maybe were arguably worse, but like of the things we've seen, without a doubt, I mean, so bad, just so astonishingly bad.
It was bad.
I expected like not good to bad, but like, holy fuck.
It was really bad. I fell asleep through a good portion of the show.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything redeeming about this. I mean, it's so bad. I mean, I think maybe A Wrinkle in Time won for us last year on this category, and like they're on the kind of same playing field.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I couldn't pick between the two.
Like it'd be tough. Like they're just so bad. Like they're next level bad though. Like there are movies that I did not enjoy this year. There are the Dark Phoenixes. There are the Dumbos of this year of 2019, I guess I should say. You know, that were like, they weren't good. They were, in fact, quite bad.
They weren't this fucking
But they
bad.
weren't fucking Hellboy. That's what I can say about them, is they weren't fucking Hellboy. So yes,
true.
another collective pick for worst for worst film, much like worst television show as well, from Watch Review Repeat. Hellboy 2019. Avoid at all costs. Dear God, save yourselves.
What do you got for disappointing?
So most disappointing film is our next category. And, you know, I guess maybe you could throw Hellboy in here because I suppose it's relatively disappointing.
We were excited about it. I mean,
maybe. I think I was a little bit more down on it than you were. It wasn't my pick. I actually think there's a few contenders in here, and I'll conclude with my eventual pick. I think Glass is a contender here. I think it was a big letdown coming off of Unbreakable and Split. I think The Lion King was a letdown for me. I don't know if that's a hot take or not.
That's my most disappointing pick for the year was The Lion King.
Okay, The Lion King. All right, so it is not a hot take at all. And I also think Chapter 2 was kind of disappointing too. I liked it.
Wow,
I didn't love it,
that's a hot take.
but I think I kind of wanted more with it. I think there was a better version of that film than what we got. But my most disappointing film is one that hurts me so much to say. It's Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. It's my most disappointing film of 2019 because I just wanted a conclusion to the sequel trilogy.
That's my two would be The Lion King and then Star Wars. Star Wars.
It's like I don't think The Lion King is a bad movie. I don't think Star Wars is a bad movie, and like both in and of themselves, The Lion King is just a worse version of the vastly superior animated version. Well, they're both animated, but you know what I mean. You know, and Star Wars is an okay movie that's enjoyable on its own merits, but it's disappointing because of expectations. That's how this category, I think, kind of stacks up. Is you have expectations walking in, and I had high expectations for Star Wars. I wanted a satisfying conclusion, and I'm willing to reconcile, plot things that didn't go the way that I hoped or wanted them to, but I just don't think it's that satisfying of a film. And compared to my expectations, the first time I watched it, I kind of just felt I didn't react emotionally to it really the first time. A little bit more the second time, but not in the way that The Force Awakens made me feel, not in the way The Last Jedi does the first time and however many times through. Like The Rise of Skywalker, like I'll watch it again, and I saw it 3 times, and I've enjoyed it for this and that. But compared to expectations, it has to fall the flattest for me. I just wanted so much more out of it, and maybe it was dumb to me expect that, but JJ did. I thought he crushed it with The Force Awakens.
He did.
So,
he did.
And now that we've talked about the Duel of the Fate stuff with Colin Trevorrow's vision, it's just like, oh, there's stuff in there I think that would have been better. There's stuff in there that I think would have been dumb too. But like, I don't know.
It could have been really cool.
There's such a better version of this film. Even just the JJ version that's lurking out there. I think that it's my most disappointing. But what do you have on The Lion King?
I have The Lion King as The Lion King for the longest time has been. I mean, it's just been a staple in fucking film. I mean, not maybe not for everybody, but for me, The Lion King has been. I don't know. It's just an incredible movie. And then for this animated film to come out, and there's just such a huge disconnect between the characters on screen and the dialogue that's coming out, and
right.
the song and the music and everything else. There's just a huge disconnect between what's on screen and what you hear and perceive. And Star Wars is a huge disappointment as well. But with I don't know. I think that with what came out with The Last Jedi versus what came out with The Force Awakens, it was kind of questionable what we were going to receive. I kind of had an open mind. I wasn't looking for one thing one way or the other with Star Wars. But with Lion King, I expected it to deliver. I saw the trailer. I said, holy shit, this looks ridiculous. It's going to be so fucking good. Johnny V is directing it. Since day one, I thought,
could go wrong?
What could go wrong? Right. I thought it was going to be 100% in the basket or whatever the fucking saying is. I thought it was just, there's no questioning it. And then when it came out, there was a giant disconnect between what we got and what was delivered and everything else. So for that reason, I put Lion King as the biggest disappointment.
And it's basically expectations versus reality, right? That's kind of what it boils down to. And again, I don't think either of them are bad films, quote unquote bad films, but expectations can be a bitch sometimes, and sometimes they fuck you over, and sometimes you're surprised in a good way. Maybe we'll talk about that momentarily, but it just sucks. You never want things to disappoint, and it always sucks when they do. And so it sucks that The Lion King and Rise of Skywalker, for both of us, didn't really quite live up to their expectations. So, most surprising film. What do you got? What do you got for most surprising film?
Aladdin. This was a very
right.
Yeah.
I came up with the exact same response.
Did you really?
So,
No shit.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we got the Blue Genie shit. We got a bunch of stuff that was released with this film before it came out. Yeah. And I was wholeheartedly
did not look good.
Did not look good at all. I was expecting it to be 100% shit, and it wasn't the best thing that came out, but it was totally okay. I think.
You know what I will say though.
What's that?
And maybe I'm standing out on a limb. I think that this is the best live action Disney animated adaptation, though. I really do think I enjoyed Aladdin more than certainly fucking Dumbo, but I think I enjoyed it more than The Lion King too.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
You know, and I would have absolutely never fucking expected to utter that statement after watching any of the marketing materials for it.
True.
Comparing it to The Lion King's marketing materials, maybe better than Dumbo, probably. That's not, super surprising, but yeah, I mean, it's a weird fucking thing. Guy Ritchie's Aladdin, like I think like we made fun of it. Like literally, the first episode we ever did was just like fucking Guy Ritchie's Aladdin, blah, and lo and behold, it's not that bad. It's not amazing, yeah, but it does new things, and I think that's why I was surprised by it. Is it wasn't just
it did some
the same
stupid
thing.
shit too, though.
It did some stupid shit,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but
it's not perfect, and it's really not that Guy Ritchie feeling for the most part. But like, nah, it's totally enjoyable and solid, and the cast is good. Mina Massoud was a good Aladdin. Naomi Scott was a great Jasmine.
That guy was a terrible fucking Jafar.
The Jafar was real bad, But the Jafar was real fucking bad. We could say that for sure.
That one song didn't make any sense either.
Is that the one where Jasmine stopped time?
Yep, Jasmine stopped time.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
but it was totally good, though. It was
a totally fun update. It's not better than the cartoon, obviously, but like, and even Will Smith as the fucking genie was way better, I think, than either of us expected it to be.
Yes, I think that's where
that's
fucking
the difference
nomination,
maker, probably.
Yeah, exactly. You see the pictures that came out before or whatever, and then whatever it was, it's like, okay, they obviously fixed it. So I don't know. Between marketing and material and what we got,
I think this one was a case of such low expectations coming in the door and then walking away with like, it wasn't great. It was totally fine, like pretty enjoyable. Like, I think it's probably more enjoyable than it is like quote unquote good, I guess maybe, but still, like that counts for something still.
It does, definitely.
I think you wrestled with another one for this category that I also agreed with. I think you talked pre-episode about Detective Pikachu being something that was kind of surprising for you, right?
Yeah, Detective Pikachu was pretty good.
Yeah, like that one was could have been dog shit. Video game movie, Pokemon, live action.
Could have been real bad.
Could have been horrendous. Bad. But it was really fun. It was a good movie. Not a great movie, but again, fun.
If Danny DeVito made an appearance as
that would have been in my top 10.
That would have been fucking right to the top.
Like
right,
exactly. Auto slots in. Yep. I also had Toy Story 4 as most surprising as a kind of a contender, in the sense that I didn't think it was a necessary film. Like, I was just like, what the fuck do you need to do after do Toy Story 3? And I think, we talked about
That's fair.
And they made it a Woody story, and I think that was a really, really great choice. So that was another one, but Aladdin was just at pure expectations of, oh, this is going to be bad, and oh, this wasn't that bad. So, yeah, another consensus pick. Best animated film. I guess I asked you for the last one, so I suppose I can jump in here. Toy Story 4 was another contender here for me. Didn't win for me. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World was, it hurt me to not pick it.
Right?
It hurt me to not pick it.
Oh no! What did you pick?
I picked Frozen 2.
Okay, well, I mean that would be your pick, I guess. You did watch the first Frozen 19 times in theaters.
4 times in theaters. I've only seen Frozen 2 once. And honestly, I think the reason I struggled so much between that and Dragon, which I thought was fucking excellent, and the sand animation still blows my mind just thinking about it. Frozen 2, like, I've listened to the soundtrack more since I've seen it. I've only seen the movie once, and I'm going to see it again before it leaves theaters. And I know that it's one of those movies that, like, having seen it once and enjoying it so much the first time and listening to the music, I know that I'm going to love it the second time. Like, I think it's going to hit me in ways that the first time couldn't. And maybe Dragon would do that a second time around. I have it on 4K now, so I suppose they could have done that. Didn't. But, Dragon was such a satisfying conclusion to that trilogy, and it hit all those right notes, and it was so fucking good. It was so fucking good. I mean, honestly, I'd declare them co-winners, but I suppose that'd be cheating in a way. Frozen 2 was kind of an unexpected surprise for me. I loved Frozen 1, obviously. Didn't really need a sequel. was curious to see what they would do with the sequel, and then they came out with this radically kind of different movie that takes these characters from where they ended up in the first one into radically different positions by the end of the film, and ways that were super satisfying and unexpected, to the backdrop of a soundtrack that's arguably better maybe than the first one.
Wow. Yeah.
And so Frozen 2, I think it's also maybe it's a carryover of expectations kind of bleeding in of just like, yeah, I was looking forward to Frozen 2, but man, it was really fucking good. So I ended up with Frozen 2. It sounds like you ended up with something that I talked about briefly though. What do you got?
I got
Best
How to
animated
Train Your
film.
Dragon.
Okay. And your thought process for picking that would be?
Sand.
Mind-blowing sand technology.
No. Yeah, the sand was incredible. Just the what's the best way to put it? I think that the world that they had built had a satisfying conclusion. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it
sure.
felt like a very realized conclusion to a 3-part series, which is awesome. Frozen 2 was awesome as well. It was good. You had excellent music and it had a very the universe there had a very satisfying feel as well. But How to Train Your Dragon's been around for close to a decade, right?
Yeah, pretty much a decade at this point.
Yeah, you can see a satisfying progression in the technology that helped it, just helped it grow. And much like the Toy Story or something like that, you know what I mean? But I think it's a very realized world, and I think that I don't know, just the experience of the movie is very good. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Frozen 2 is awesome too, but
so it's so hard. I mean, honestly, what it is, and maybe it's just me hearing you talk about Dragon and thinking, "Oh fuck, I've made a mistake." I think it's recency bias is kind of a lot of it. Like I saw Dragon March
a long
maybe?
time ago.
Is
Yeah,
that when it came out? Like it's been almost a full fucking year.
Do you
since
remember
I've
that
seen it.
fucking sand though? When you saw that, sand
I remember
in
the
Dolby?
sand from almost a year ago, and I remember really, really loving this movie. But it's one of those things like I should have revisited it. There's so many things I should have watched or revisited. Time is what it is, but it's a really good fucking movie.
And I think that it's really cool that they show the children.
Such a satisfying ending too.
Yeah,
like
right.
It tugs on the heartstrings, and it doesn't feel sappy or like unearned, man. Like it feels like fuck. And I think maybe both of us did it. Did we both rewatch the first two before we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it's like to see 1, 2, and 3. Like man, like to complete that journey was so fulfilling.
It feels like such a tight thing, And I feel like I'm putting it on the pedestal based on what came before. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if you encapsulate it in an entire series, I think it's an incredibly satisfying experience.
I think in a way, Frozen 2 I think is probably better as a standalone movie. Like you could arguably not watch Frozen 1, watch Frozen
That's
2,
right.
and I think it still works pretty well. I mean, you're
Sure.
missing things. Obviously, the dynamic of Elsa and Anna is probably like, okay, well, they're sisters. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you're missing. Hidden World, I think, is very reliant upon the relationships that 1 and 2 established
Sure.
and the plots. And so you might be harder pressed, but maybe just don't fucking watch the third movie in a franchise without watching the 2 that precede it, and you're fine. So I think you can absolutely, you don't really need to do that. Let's just kind of just feel like that's, I don't know. So anyway, you had Dragon, I had Frozen 2, but it's a toss up. It really, really, really toss up there. So best superhero film.
So I really wanted to give Avengers. I really wanted to give Avengers the pick.
But
for
you
obvious
did something
reasons.
else?
I did. I gave Spider-Man best superhero film.
Far From Home. Okay.
Far From Home. Yeah. I did it because I feel like the natural pick is really Avengers. I feel like, it's the conclusion of a decade-long thing. It was really good. It really was. But at the same time, I feel like the progression of a particular hero was much more evident in Spider-Man. I felt like it was a really good story piece for a particular person. More so than a series that's been built on and built on and built on by like I said, there's something to be said about a movie that's built on a bunch of different characters, and this is the decade-long thing that you've built up to, which is totally awesome in and of itself. It's awesome, right? It's totally great. But Spider-Man's, I feel like, totally different. It's it is what a superhero movie aims to be, I think. You see the progression of the person and how they progress into the hero, and it just stands for a little bit more. I think it stands for, if you want to try to put, if you want to put a genre about it, or if you want to put an award about a particular movie, if you want to call it best superhero movie of the year, I feel like that is the caricature of a superhero movie, if that makes sense. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Well,
More
I think
so than a team up.
I think it's another thing, almost maybe similar to Frozen versus Dragon, in the sense that like Endgame is 100,000% reliant upon everything that came before for it to work in the way that it does. Whereas Far From Home is responsive to Endgame, but it still works on its own. It's a story of, a 16, 17-year-old kid who's still in over his head and, just is grappling with maybe one of the biggest losses in his life. Yes, he lost Uncle Ben, presumably, at one point, and that fucked him up for a good deal. And now he's lost Tony Stark, and what does that mean when he is his mentor as Iron Man, as the person that he's aspired to become? And now he's trying to fill those shoes, and well, he's just a kid, and maybe he shouldn't be trying to fill those shoes, and what's that journey look like? I think in and of itself, Far From Home does a better job to just give you a well-realized story that is kind of standalone in that respect, maybe. And yeah, I could definitely, I think Far From Home was fucking excellent. So it's a great, great film, and it does a great job of grappling with that arc and still wrapping it around an entertaining superhero film with, Mysterio, cool villain. There's all the kind of trappings that you would expect of that, but it still managed to make it personal and and relatable. It's just a boy in love with a girl, and making that happen, in the most awkward high school way possible. Totally relatable. So yeah, I definitely. Sorry, I kind of stole your thunder a little bit. I didn't even pick Spider-Man for this, but
what's your pick?
Well, I picked Avengers. I picked Avengers Endgame.
Okay, totally fine.
Kind of for the opposite reasons of. Yeah, it is all those things, but like, holy fuck, they did it.
They did do it. They did.
Like, if there was an award for the most satisfying film of this year, I'd pick fucking Endgame, man. I can't. The third act in that film is the most satisfying fucking thing I've seen, and I don't know how long. It's
long time. Captain America picking up that fucking hammer, dude.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's absolutely kind of the things that you dream of, when you're a kid reading this shit. And the thing I love about Endgame is, while it is reliant upon everything else, like, it's a 3-act structure that works so well that it's just so impressive, and that they pulled it off. I never in a million years would I have dreamed that they would have been able to accomplish this with the sort of panache that they did. The first act is this kind of darker movie of responding to the snap, and then the second half is, you got this fun time heist thing with, fucking Ant-Man and Paul Rudd being amazing, and this third act is the most epic shit you've ever seen in maybe any superhero film ever, maybe any movie ever, really. And it all is done so well. It's a 3-hour movie that doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome, really, that I don't think. And Like, it's everything I really just wanted to. Well, I wanted it to be. It just delivered on my expectations and then some. Maybe, I always wouldn't it be cool if fucking Cap was deemed worthy to hold fucking Mjolnir and he's holding that while wielding the shield, fighting fucking Thanos one-on-one. I mean, come on. It's not even
What can
fair.
you ask for?
And I love Spider-Man. He's one of my favorite superheroes in general. And I think Far From Home is amazing. And I think Captain Marvel was good. Probably my least favorite of the 3 Marvel ones that came out in 19. Shazam, I think, was surprisingly very good too. And like, there's some good movies that came out this year. But Avengers Endgame just appear again, maybe just expectations seeping in. But Infinity War was awesome. So cool. What a badass fucking movie that was. And man, they managed to, I don't know if they necessarily managed to top it, but they managed to make a different movie that was responsive to it, that was still satisfying in its own way, and I loved it for it. I loved Kevin Feige and company for it. Paychecks, please. It's been a while. I think you might be behind on your paychecks, Mr. Feige, sir. Yeah, so I think Far From Home is an excellent answer. It's a very close second. For me, it was Endgame, again, as just kind of the realization of this decade of the Infinity Saga kind of coming to fruition in the way that it did was just, I don't know, man. It was next level shit for me, I think.
That's totally fair.
So best, we're getting more into the technical things. I guess I should flag that.
Best score. This is where things really heat up.
Yeah, best original score.
What'd you give?
I chose 1917.
Okay.
The score
That's
by
a good
Thomas
pick.
Newman.
Yeah.
It's, again, maybe a little bit of recency bias, but and also a shout out to Michael Abel's score of Us, which I thought was excellent, from earlier in the year. 1917. I was trying to think. I was trying to rack my brain for movies where I thought the score stuck out to me for something like that. 1917 is one that just kept popping in my head, and as I was watching the movie too, of just being like, "Holy shit, I fucking love this score!" Like, there's movies that I can kind of listen to the score after the fact and think, "Well, that's really fucking good," and I think it's usually kind of the movies that in the moment make me think, "Wow, this is really fucking good," or the ones that kind of
elevates the film.
Yeah, and I felt like 1917 maybe it didn't even need any fucking help from a score, but the score still helped nonetheless, and so that's kind of why I picked it, is because it just stuck out to me as I was watching it, and it was just kind of the first thing that I could think of, and then when I tried to look back and think about something that I was just like, well, is this, and I was just like, no, none of it really seemed to top it for me. So that's what I had for it. I could have done a little bit more research in terms of listening and stuff like that. I think I've tried to do that in years past, but nonetheless, I'm happy with my pick. So that's what I went with. Who'd you end up with?
I went with Nathan Johnson with Knives Out.
Okay.
That was you can not watch Knives Out and just listen to the score and get a whodunit movie with the score. And I think there was a lot of things I grappled with. I grappled with Ad Astra's score.
Yeah.
Which is super atmospheric.
For sure.
I grappled with 1917, which is also it's kind of sympathetic and it's very sad, and but at the same time it builds suspense. But I picked Knives Out in Nathan Johnson solely on the fact that I full disclosure, actively went back and listened to just a couple of tracks. I did it tonight. I did it in one sitting, so maybe I did myself a disservice. I don't know, but I went back and listened to just a track of each movie that I thought had a decent score, and I gave the pick on the person that I could pick the kind of movie from the score. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I could tell that this movie was from a whodunit movie. It was straight violins and stuff. It's you can listen to and since I gave it the nomination, I listened to the score as I picked the other picks for tonight, and I don't know. I feel pretty good about it. I feel like it's a very well written score, and I feel like it's It feels like a classical piece of music, which is pretty cool.
I see. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
maybe
so
I need to
anyways. give
give that one another listen. I'm not sure.
it a listen, dude. It's pretty good. A lot of violins, a lot of quartets, which is pretty cool.
Mhm.
And it's very classical in the way it's written, which is pretty neat. So, what bit I've listened to it, I've thoroughly enjoyed. So I picked Knives Out.
All right. Well, what did you pick for best original song? AKA, what's your favorite song from Frozen 2?
I was gonna say, cowboy gains its wings or whatever, but I guess that's not a
Buster
pick for this
Scruggs.
year.
Yeah. I feel like we talked about Buster Scruggs, the Ballad of Buster Scruggs, when we did our awards this time last year. So, yes, we cannot unfortunately award it 2 years in a row, but even if we'd like to.
I did Lost in the Woods.
Okay, it's a good call.
Yeah, makes me happy. So
Yeah, I agree with you. I was struggling between the two big Elsa centric songs, "Show Yourself" and "Into the Unknown." I went with the former. I went with "Show Yourself." I think that's the cave one. I believe that you talked about when we did the episode.
Yeah,
I think it's a more emotional song. Like "Into the Unknown," I think it's again being positioned as the "Let It Go" of the Frozen 2 kind of soundtrack, and I think it's really fucking good. But "Show Yourself," like. It's
really good.
When I listen to it, it triggers more of the response to the emotional beats of the movie. Whereas "Into the Unknown" takes place, I think, kind of early on in the movie, enough that it doesn't convey that as much, and not even in the way that like "Let It Go" did. Like "Let It Go" was just like everyone fucking hating on Elsa, and then Elsa's letting it go, and I think "Show Yourself" is kind of closer to the equivalent of that in terms of the emotionality behind it, and Idina Menzel is wonderful. So, "Show Yourself" is yet another example of her incredible talents as a singer, as an actress. So, yeah. So best original song, aka best song from Frozen 2. We've got we got a few picks. I would also recommend, if you haven't seen it, the Weezer music video for Lost. Their cover of "Lost in the Woods" is pretty entertaining.
I haven't seen it. I'll have to look it up.
Give it a look. Maybe not now, but maybe later. All right, moving on to the Screenplay Awards. We have first up Best Original Screenplay. And I gotta say, this was a bit of a motherfucker for me.
Yeah, it's tough.
I really, really struggled with this one because I think that there's so many worthy films here. Noah Baumbach with Marriage Story was one that I struggled with. Quentin Tarantino with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Ryan Johnson with Knives Out. Man, any of those could have been it. And Ryan Johnson, I was so close to picking because I thought Knives Out is such a creative screenplay. And even if it's somewhat predictable, as we kind of alluded to, it's still so fucking well done. I picked Bong Joon-ho and Han Jin-won for Parasite. Best Original Screenplay.
Because I did too.
It's such a... I mean, Knives Out's it's a great whodunit. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's a great send-up of, Hollywood, I guess. And Marriage Story is a really, really kind of relatable story, kind of told so well. But Parasite is fucking bonkers, man. It's so out there. It's so creative. The twists and turns that it takes, throughout the film. It's just it's a work of genius, man. Like to be able to come up with that, and like this will tie into a later award that I'll give out. But like the screenplay is like kind of written around like Bong Joon-ho's like ideas of how these like the houses are designed, like literally architecturally designed. Like the screenplay is crafted around like how the movie is going to be crafted, like literally crafted. And I'm just like, not only is like the story out there and super fun and entertaining and and funny at times, very humorous at times, and then sometimes super fucking dark, like huge tonal shifts throughout. It's there's so many things kind of packed into it that it's just really, really fucking impressive, like what it was. So that's why I picked it anyway.
Yeah. It's a very thought-invoking movie, right? There's so many layers.
Right. And the themes behind it too, of course,
right. It just... It's super entertaining. It's funny at times. It's sad at times. It's I don't. It's super serious at times. It's a very well thought out fucking film, from every layer, which is from the cinematography to the score to the concepts. I don't know. There's a lot of good movies that we watched this year, but Parasite is it sticks out. It's a very good movie. It's topical. Topical, to the problems and to the issues of today. And apparently it doesn't matter whether you're in America or whether you're in fucking Korea or wherever you're at, it's still topical, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think I enjoy turning off a movie after I've watched it and going to bed and waking up and still thinking about it and still thinking about how it's relevant. And like I said, I don't think there's not a lot of more words I can describe the movie as thought invoking. It's kind of like the limit of my vernacular. I can't.
Chernobyl, I think, was kind of, the same vein, what we talked about, earlier. So
yeah, there's some stuff that just reaches
it transcends being just entertainment,
Yeah, exactly. And it lets you, it allows you to evaluate where you're at and where others are at, and just the total situation of today. And I think that Parasite's far more entertaining than Chernobyl. I think that
yes, that's true. There's humor in it, so yes.
Right, it's far more entertaining, but at the same time, it's very thought-invoking. It's very serious in what it's trying to say, and I didn't know what to expect when I watched it. You wouldn't tell me anything. Nobody would tell me anything.
It's a film best experienced mostly blind.
Yeah, you don't know what you're getting into, and I don't know. I was thoroughly impressed with the movie. So, anyways, not to linger on it, but yeah, best original screenplay. Parasite.
All right. Best adapted screenplay. I'm going to toss this one over to you.
Spider-Man.
Okay.
I didn't know what to give it to.
Okay.
So, to be completely honest with you, I just gave it to fucking Spider-Man. I thought it was cool.
Like every comic book movie is basically automatically an adapted screenplay. So,
where'd you give it to?
I went with Little Women for best adapted screenplay.
I never watched it, so.
Yeah, it's one of the ones that I've watched more recently within the past week prior to recording. Of course, based off of the novel of the same name, 1868, by Louisa May Alcott, which it's a semi-autobiographical novel, which has been adapted many, many times. And this most recent one was written and directed by Greta Gerwig, who had done Lady Bird just a few years ago, which I really, really enjoyed. I'm not sure if you ever ended up seeing it.
Yeah.
Amazing cast, amazing film, but it is based off of a effectively timeless novel, as is evidenced by the fact that it's now 150 years later, and it still manages to resonate emotionally, and it did a great job of kind of mixing things up. So I think I talked about it many episodes ago. I watched like the 1994, adaptation of it with Susan Sarandon, and I really, really enjoyed it. I'd never seen it, and I loved it. She was the one that, was just like, we should watch this. There's a new one coming out. So I did. And I thought that was an excellent film. And then this one, I think this one's better. And I think that I haven't read the novel, I guess. I've heard it's a little dry. It was written a little while ago, you might say.
What's it about?
It's about little women. They're very small. No. It's for girls growing up in a family. I think during the American Civil War, their father's off fighting, so their mom is the one taking care of them. It's four sisters, are all kind of different ages, and they're indigent. So it's just basically, their mom's struggling to take care of them because they don't have a whole lot of money to go around, and so each sister kind of has their own personality and wants and needs and desires, and it's kind of about the very different way that they handle their lives. And so the way that I think the thing that I liked about this particular adaptation of the 2019 adaptation of it is that it's not linear in terms of timeline. It bounces back and forth. And I don't think some of the other ones, I don't think the book did that. I think the book is a bit more linear from what I understand. So it kind of bounces back between Joe, who's the main character, living in New York, and then it kind of bounces back to her current life, her life back in Massachusetts, where she grew up with her family, and the hardships, going through childhood, and then the hardships of adulthood, basically, and how those kind of relate. Sometimes they coincide. It's all really good. There's other things that I liked about this film, which I'll talk about later. But I think purely in terms of adapting, a novel and taking it and making it work for modern audiences is sometimes difficult. I would have to imagine. I haven't done it myself, but I have to imagine it's pretty difficult. And Greta Gerwig did an amazing job with this of taking the structure of the story, taking the bones of the story, and making it something really, really compelling. And from what I understand, a lot of it is still lifted wholesale from the novel, so it's a very faithful adaptation while still kind of messing a little bit with the structure to kind of make it feel maybe a little bit fresher. So, that's what I had. So, sorry, maybe went a little off in the weeds on there, but Little Women, best adapted screenplay was my pick. So Iron Man's a good call too. It's a good fucking, it's a good one. It's a good one. Mysterio the good guy, but not so much. Best sound design. It was really only one movie for me that came to mind when I was picking this, and and there's a few others I think that are worthy of mention, but Ford v Ferrari fucking kicked my ass in terms of sound design.
We picked the same movie again.
Yeah, fuck, it was so good. It was a good movie, obviously, but like the sound design in terms of, the racing sequences obviously are the standout kind of things from this movie, but like even beyond that, there's just the stuff in between still really, really, I could still really feel it. And I remember, watching this in Dolby and fucking just being blown away by the sound of it. Maybe we might have talked about it on the episode that we did on it, not too long ago. But yeah, it was an experience, we shall say. So you also have Ford v Ferrari, and I would like to know why.
Yeah, the fucking cars. I mean, there was only one that I could think of, and it was the fact that the cars. I mean, cars were loud.
Yeah. I wonder. Do you remember what we picked for this last year?
Mother. I picked Mother.
Was it Mother? Okay. Or was that 2 years ago? I don't know. I feel like I picked Baby. One of us picked Baby Driver at one point. I'm just like, maybe just cars are the secret ingredient. I don't know.
If it wasn't Mother, it was for me. If it wasn't Mother, it would have been
maybe First Man.
First Man. That's what it would have been.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I was just like, cars are the secret to sound. I don't know. I was just curious if there was a connection there. I apologize for interrupting.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more else to say than you already said, but
it's fucking cars, man. The fucking cars sounded good. The cars sounded good. Best editing. What do you have? Best editing.
1917.
Likewise, 1917. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah.
Not nominated for a fucking Academy Award for editing. Bohemian Rhapsody wins a fucking Academy Award for editing, but 1917 can't even get a fucking nomination. Okay.
And that's my biggest problem is how do you not nominate a movie that was taken in multiple shots and edited to be taken as one take?
Yeah, I mean, the whole movie with maybe two cuts is a fucking continuous one take, and a seamless one at that. Yeah, you know where the cuts are, but like, I think just to pull that off, like, it made it look easy, and I would be willing to bet it was not. I would be willing to bet it was not easy to make the movie look the way that it did. By the time it came out to cinemas, I would be shocked. And I feel like, yeah, maybe it's a teamwork thing of the director and the cinematographer and everyone kind of chipping in and making it work. But like, it still falls back on the editing team or the editor to make that feel as seamless as it did. And lo and behold, they made it work. It's 1917 without a doubt. I mean, so impressive on a technical level. So impressive. We don't even need to have a fun conversation on it. I mean, what the fuck, man?
No.
But we can have a conversation potentially on best visual effects.
What'd you give it to?
I struggled. struggled because it's I don't know if it's cheating or not, maybe, but I thought about Avengers. Really really impressive, lots of stuff going on, superheroes fighting, blah blah blah. Thought about Ad Astra because space movies always kind of have pretty good visual effects, but I give it to The Lion King because
okay, yeah.
I mean, The Lion King is like
pretty good.
one of the most impressive, like, 1917 is impressive from like I think a production standpoint, but like fucking The Lion King from a visual effects standpoint, like the photorealism
It's ridiculous.
is absolutely insane.
Bonkers.
And we can talk all day about the way that it doesn't sync with the voices and it throws everything the fuck off. And I think that's true. I don't think this is the best animated film by any stretch of the imagination, but in terms of visual effects, I mean, I don't think we've ever seen technology like this before, and like,
I don't think so.
and I hope we do see more of it, although I hope we see it more used for something that would jive with it better. You know what I mean? Like it was just a clash. There was a visual and audio clash with this particular movie, but the technology you can see, it's not even just the potential there. You could literally just see it writ large on the screen of, holy fuck, this is mind-blowing in how this movie was made and crafted. So yeah, I had to pick it for visual effects, even though I didn't love the film and thought it was just a kind of a not so great retread. I mean, it's still groundbreaking for what it is. I can certainly acknowledge it for that. What'd you end up with here?
Alita Battle Angel.
Okay.
That was pretty mind-blowing. Yeah, I can't talk.
Did your eyes go big? While you were watching the movie?
Yeah.
Is that
yeah.
why?
Alita looked pretty fucking good. Certain points more so than others, admittedly, but I think overall the mocap and everything we're at a turning point with visual effects, and I think it's evident. It looks ridiculous. I mean, Alita looked absolutely bonkers. So, yeah, no, I think Alita's a safe bet for visual effects.
Yeah. Another one I think kind of groundbreaking more in terms of the mocap versus kind of the other technologies used. But yeah, it's good. It's a good call. I haven't seen that one in a while. Maybe I should watch it soon. I don't know. Best production design. What do you got?
Knives Out.
Okay, that was my runner-up. To this one.
What'd you pick?
That fucking house, though. Well, I picked Parasite because of those fucking houses, though.
Fair
basically.
enough.
And Knives Out's, it's relatively constrained to one setting, right? Parasite's mostly constrained to two settings, but like Parasite, like the Bong Joon-ho, the director, basically like the multi-level kind of thing where it's kind of someone underground. Like he designed that shit. Like basically, like that wasn't just like, oh, we found this place and it looks cool. Let's film around that. Like no. He fucking was just like, yeah, like I'm gonna design my fucking movie around this, and the other house, the rich family's house, like again another thing that like it was just designed for that fucking movie. And I think Knives Out's kind of in the same way of let's design this movie around this house and shoot around this house in creative ways. But Parasite for me was just kind of next level of that. So I ended up going with Parasite on this particular one.
Fair enough. I don't know. Knives Out was it was built around a clue house.
I will say this, Knives Out ended up being my runner-up to like 19 categories, so I think highly of Knives Out, as maybe people will find out before long, but yeah, there's just certain things that just like, even though I wanted to spread the love and be like, Knives Out, here's something for you, like, it'll get its due. Don't worry about it, guys. I love Knives Out. I love Knives Out. That's safe to say.
What do you have?
Any other thoughts? Okay, all right, we're moving on.
For best cinematography?
Yeah. This was no question for me. It's Roger Deakins' work on 1917.
Okay, we're in the same boat.
Yeah. I mean, it's astonishing.
Have you seen it?
We were very effusive in our praise, I think, collectively in terms of the cinematography, particularly when we just talked about it, recently on the 1917 episode. And yeah, I mean, Roger Deakins, again, masterclass cinematographer to begin with. him paired up with Sam Mendes, working on this film and shooting it in the way that they did. And not only just the way that they shot it with the continuous one take, but it was the fact that like every single shot within that was
framing.
So breathtaking.
Yeah.
And there's the flare sequence is one that I'm just like, yeah, just give this man all the fucking awards. I don't give a shit. Give them all to Roger Deakins. Like, man, like there's no question just coming out of that movie where I'm just like, I don't think I saw a film in 2019. I guess technically I saw it in 2020 because they couldn't be fucked to release it in 2019 for a wide release. But like, I within the past year, like I can't think of a film that looked better than this.
No
visually.
Way.
And so for me, it was I don't even have any other runner-ups. I'm just like, it's 1917. Like I don't need to entertain other possibilities. I already know this, and I'm confident in my answer. So I went with 1917.
Yeah, so did I, for the same exact reasons.
Yeah,
I actually went with the director as well.
Best director,
yeah.
Sam Mendes.
Sam Mendes, yeah,
yeah.
He had a
good call.
He had a vision, and he fucking delivered, man. Not to say that
is true.
The guy that directed Parasite did not have a vision, because he definitely did, but I think Sam Mendes was involved on multiple different roles as this. What were all his roles for this movie? Do you remember?
Roles in what sense?
Didn't he write it and produce it and fucking?
Yeah, I mean, he co-wrote it. I'm sure he produced it to some extent. Yeah.
I mean, it's he knew what he was doing when he made this fucking movie, 1917. He fucking did a really good job.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I wholeheartedly think he is. I don't know. I can think of really good movies. There are really good movies that we'll talk about later, but for best director, I definitely give it to Sam Mendes for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good call. He was one of my runner-ups. I also wanted to shout out Ryan Johnson for Knives Out. I also wanted to shout out Olivia Wilde, directorial debut on Booksmart. Really fucking impressive. It's a movie that was really, really fucking well shot, actually, for, just kind of a movie that's, super bad with women, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's way more than that, I think, but just the way that it was shot in a movie, I think that you kind of don't expect it to. Like a war movie, you expect to be well shot, Knives Out, I guess you can kind of see that, being lending itself more to like cinematography and such. But I had to go with Bong Joon-ho on Parasite for Best Director. I had to. And the reason I did that is I think as you kind of talked about maybe the few different roles that Sam Mendes had with 1917, I think what stood out for me about Parasite, obviously there was a lot. It's not only that, Bong Joon-ho co-wrote the film and it's so creative, it was my best original screenplay for the year. It's not that he was so involved in the production design that he kind of crafted his screenplay around that and his whole directing vision around that. I think it's the fact that and look, Knives Out has an amazing cast and fucking like maybe the best cast of any of the movies that came out in 2019. But I think Parasite had the best performances across the board collectively of any movie in 2019, in my opinion.
Sure.
Like I think 1917 had two main characters, one that kind of carried the weight more than the other, and then you had a bunch of big names that are in it for 30 seconds and they're fine, but they're not in it long enough to really do anything other than be like, look, it's that guy.
They're not like Knives Out, that's for sure.
Not like Knives Out, and I think Knives Out's maybe a little bit closer in the sense that some get more play than others, but like Parasite, like pretty much everyone in that movie gets a fair amount of play, and fucking hell are they all so good.
And they all nail it. Yeah, that's true.
They're all so good. Like that's an ensemble cast where there is not a weak link in that whole bunch. And I think that absolutely credit is owed to each actor for their performances, but you need a good director too. And I can tell that Bong Joon-ho, just from, not even just from that, from, Snowpiercer and The Host, like, this is a guy that knows his shit and knows what he fucking wants when he makes a movie. Parasite is like maybe like him at his best, in the sense that, like, he had such a specific vision for this and he managed to get these performers to realize that vision in such a perfect way. But I think you need to have that sort of visionary behind the camera for that to be the result. And so I think that for his involvement in everything, from the performances to the production design to the screenplay. Like, it all just, like, that to me is like the best director for me, for Parasite. So Bong Joon-ho's my pick.
What do you got for best actor?
We're getting into the acting awards. We got 4 acting awards, and then we're getting into the tops of the year for you guys, that are thinking, all right, you better look at your watch. Better look at your watch, fam. Best supporting actor. I didn't have a standout here, I wouldn't say. I don't know. It was tough for me, this one. I feel like I usually have like kind of one that like each acting award, I usually feel like I have someone that I'm like, oh fuck, it's this person. And there was a few like that for this year, but not in this particular category. I thought about Tom Hanks, as Mr. Rogers in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. He was really good. I thought about Timothée Chalamet in Little Women. Thought he was really good. But I think I went with kind of the pick that I think is kind of the trending Oscar favorite at this point, and that's Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Because you know what? I fucking love Brad Pitt, and Cliff Booth is a cool-ass dude. And, it was such a fun character, and a character that was pretty easygoing, and, I don't know, like, just the way that Brad Pitt played that character was just he was just badass in that role. Like, he owned that role. He really did. And I think Leo fucking owned, Rick fucking Dalton in a similar way, but, like, Brad Pitt was just kind of just a nonchalant kind of performer through this, and not in a bad way, just in like a, cool, and just kind of, like, Leo was kind of the Spitfire kind of character, whereas Cliff Booth was just like, all right, we're cool, like, that was kind of his guy. And I really enjoyed that. And in a movie that was filled with a lot of fun performances and a lot of really fun ideas and things that happened throughout, Brad Pitt was kind of a big through line of a lot of those. Like, there's a sequence where he goes to the it's like the horror sequence in the movie when they go to like the Manson farm or whatever it is. Like, he's great in that whole sequence. He's great through the end. There's a lot of like really good stuff. Circa Brad Pitt. So he was my pick, and he'll probably win it. So good for him. Brad Pitt's great. We like Brad Pitt. Who'd you have?
So I picked fucking William Dafoe.
How long have we been stranded on this rock?
Help me
Is that right?
recollect. Yes. From the fucking Lighthouse. Yes.
Lighthouse?
Yeah.
Okay. Which I haven't seen, so I couldn't put it in here. But.
He was fucking bonkers, dude. He was fucking he was way out on the shit on that movie. Yeah. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. Yeah.
Hey, he's a good fucking actor.
He's a good actor. He's got his hair all fucking crazy, and he's like, fuck. Struggling out on the alcohol, and fucking crazy ass William Dafoe. Yeah, I mean, I if you don't know what I mean when I say crazy ass William Dafoe, then you don't know. But once you see him acting as crazy ass William Dafoe, you kind of feel it a little bit. You know what I mean? He portrays a fucking strung out fucking wiki, which is what I guess that's what a Lighthouse Watcher is. It's a wiki. And he's out of his mind a little bit in this movie, and it's pretty fucking good. It's real good. So, for that reason, I picked William Dafoe. You'll know when you see it. I feel like not a lot of people saw that movie. It is a fucking weird movie, but I had to throw it in there in some respect, and I think William Dafoe really won that movie over for me, so that's why I picked it.
Yeah. Well, I need to see The Lighthouse.
Yeah, totally.
I'll see it at some point. Moving on to Best Supporting Actress. Who did you come up with for this one? I think you might have struggled with this one for a little bit.
This was the hardest one I had of tonight. I picked... Okay. I ended up settling with Naomi Scott, which is Jasmine in Aladdin.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I feel like is like it's not a good pick at all. But
not satisfied with it.
No, not at all. But I couldn't.
I'm surprised. I feel like you're missing out. Maybe you're thinking maybe you might have thrown her in the Best Actress category. But I really thought you were going to go Ana de Armas here for Knives Out.
See, I thought she was like a fucking main actress. She's not a like.
See, I think that's the kind of movie that like there wasn't a main character per se. I mean, Benoit Blanc is kind of a lead/supporting, and
I thought she was the fucking lead actress.
well, you might have picked her, maybe, and so maybe you did recognize her. We'll find out. We don't have to spoil that just now, but yeah, I guess I kind of thought of her as more supporting. But I could definitely see. I think it goes
she is
either way.
supporting
I
actress,
cheated. I cheated for best actress myself, so you can go either way if you want. You know.
Well, then, if she's a fucking pick, then yeah, I pick her.
Okay. Does that have to change one of your picks later on then, or not?
No, it doesn't have to change. No.
Yeah, give her the. I mean, give Naomi Scott awards too if you want. Yeah, she was good. She was great, Jasmine.
Joy, I picked Joy. Yeah, totally.
Gotta pick Joy
every time. If she is a fucking pick, I will pick her every time. Yes,
correct. That is a correct take. Correct take, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was great in that fucking movie too.
Totally.
In Knives Out. She wasn't my pick, but she was fucking great. I thought Scarlett Johansson was great in Jojo Rabbit. She was my other runner-up. I picked Park So-Dam from Parasite. I'm a broken record at this point. I'm just picking everything from fucking Parasite.
It was really good.
She was the sister in the family, the daughter.
I was going to pick her, by the way.
But then you didn't because...
But then I didn't, right?
Well, and you went with Naomi Scott. Okay, all right. I see how it is.
She sings songs.
She did sing songs, that's true. She sounded good. And she looked good, too, you know? I think that, again, Parasite is a film with an ensemble cast that all knocks it out of the park, but I think she is still my favorite performance of that bunch. I think the Jessica only child from Chicago, whatever it is, just that's iconic now, but I think throughout the film she's so fucking good, and like she owns that role in the way that she inhabits not only the character of Jessica Vice, her other character's name. I don't even know, but she's so fucking good, and it's a film filled with so many strong performances, so it's kind of hard to single one out, but again, she was just kind of my favorite of, I hadn't seen most of these actors before. I think maybe the dad was the only one I've seen anything else, but man, it was powerful, good fucking work, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. I really wanted to watch Parasite again. I've only seen it the once. I'm sad to say. It came out.
I saw it very recently.
Came out today on Blu-ray, and I didn't want to pay for the digital to rewatch it. I was hoping to get the Blu-ray, but Amazon still hasn't even fucking shipped it. It's a debacle, you know what I mean? But
still a little salty, right?
Parasite's one that I'm just like, I need to see that shit again, because I loved
good.
it the first time through, and I wish I had seen it kind of more recently to be able to speak a little bit more eloquently on the certain aspects of it. Like, it's one of those things where I'm just like, I know I loved everything about it.
We should probably talk about it. I mean, it's worth more than one filmmaker's perspective on it. You know what I mean? It's worth a deep dive because it's a very it's a thought invoking film. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, well maybe we'll do that. We'll figure that out.
We'll talk about it. Best actor.
Best actor. Is it my turn? I believe it's my turn. Does that sound right?
Yeah, go ahead, dude.
Well, few. I think there's some good performances in here. Brad Pitt, I think, in Ad Astra particularly was great. Christian Bale and Ford v Ferrari, I think, was great. Joaquin Phoenix and Joker, in spite of my feelings about that film itself, I think was a very good performance. But I am picking someone who you will not be picking because I don't think you saw this film, and that's totally cool. But I can sing his praises nonetheless. Adam Driver in Marriage Story is one of the best performances I've seen in a very long time. Holy shit. Adam Driver is incredible. I know I think I shouted him out with The Last Jedi, particularly, where he was excellent. He's super fucking wasted in The Rise of Skywalker. He's great in it, but he's wasted in terms of what his character could have been and what he could have done with that character. But his character in Marriage Story, it's an interesting film. It's basically about a divorce, and for reasons we don't need to get into, I think it might be a tough watch for you, obviously. For me, I can separate myself from the material because I haven't been able to go through anything along these lines to really kind of react to it in the way I think that it could be visceral.
What the fuck? Tell me.
I mean, it's a hard fucking film. It's a film about a marriage dissolving. I mean, it's what it is, and it's Adam Driver is a character that gets blindsided by it, and he's relatable in that sense. But the more the movie goes on, you find out that, hey, maybe he's not the best
There's
guy.
always
maybe he's not the best husband. There's always two sides to the story,
right.
And even though he's a complicated figure who's he's a little self-absorbed, and he does some things that maybe made that marriage go the way that it did, he's still relatable in that role and the way that he inhabits it. And actually, one of the more interesting things of watching it from my perspective was that there's a lot of entanglements with family law and divorce, and lawyers kind of acting on spouses' behalfs, and kind of the messiness that becomes. And so, me being in law school is actually a really actually very accurate depiction of the law, and not just like a bullshit Hollywoodized version of it. But it was still actually more depressing for that in its own sort of way, because it didn't really glamorize it. It was more just like, yeah, these guys are a bunch of fucking assholes, kind of, more or less. Adam Driver's just kind of your every man who, he doesn't know the law, and he gets blindsided, gets served with divorce papers at one point, and then, things kind of escalate, and he's trying to talk to lawyers, and he's just like, I'm just trying to make my marriage work, It's heartbreaking in all the right ways. And even though it's a complicated story that, I think by the end of the film, you see that these are two people that love each other, but maybe aren't just right for each other. And ultimately maybe it's a complicated film, as relationships are complicated, always will be complicated. There's always complications that will come as a result of the good and the bad in any relationship. Adam Driver embodies all of that within his performance. He internalizes it. You stop seeing Adam Driver, the actor, and just start seeing Charlie, the character that he's playing in this. It's so
good.
realized. The story itself, I think, is somewhat based off of the director's own experiences with marriage and divorce and stuff. So I think that there's, that's imbued into it through the director, and I'm sure that he played a part in getting that performance out of Driver. But man, he was, wow, mind-blowing. And I just watched this 2 days ago, so I'm still kind of, shaken from it a little bit. So anyway, Best Actor, what do you got?
Brad Pitt.
For Ad Astra?
Once
Upon a Time?
Yeah,
Co-lead?
kind of both. I just think Brad Pitt had a good year this year.
Okay.
Yeah, that pretty much boils it down. I don't have
Brad Pitt did have a good year. Yeah, there's a few people that had, I think, that arguably won the year, if you will. I think Brad Pitt had a good fucking year. There's someone I'm going to talk about in the Best Actress category very shortly that there's two people I'll talk about in the Best Actress category that I think won the year. So, yeah, maybe I'll I'll talk about that in a second. What do you want to say about Brad Pitt, crushing it this year?
I think Ad Astra was good from a cold, calculated perspective.
Yeah, it's not a flamboyant performance,
not
but
at
it's
all,
an understated one that's still really fucking deep and good.
Yeah, right. And his role in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was fucking awesome. Again, kind of understated and just not super dramatic or anything like that, but still solid performance.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't know. I really like Brad Pitt, and I thought he had an awesome year, and that's why I picked him.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a whole lot more else to say about that.
Best Actress. This is the last of our acting awards. Then
Lupita Nyong'o.
Oh, okay. All right. For us.
That bitch was bonkers in that movie. She was fucking crazy, and she did a very good job.
She was crazy, and she also was not crazy, right?
That's right. That's right.
It was a dual performance.
Which is even more the reason why to pick her. I thought she did an excellent job. So forgot that that was this year, and I was
early on
happily surprised that it was, and yeah, I think she's totally earning of that nomination there from the movies that I watched anyways. So
she was great. I had a few here that I considered. I ended up somewhat cheating for the best actress that I picked in the way that you cheated for Brad Pitt. So I also had Lupita Nyong'o for Us as a contender, strong contender. I thought about Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story, who was every bit Adam Driver's equal, I think, in making that story work. And Scarlett Johansson is one of those actors that I was going to say has really crushed it this year. I mean, Endgame was a big deal. Obviously, she was in Jojo Rabbit, which she was great in, and then Marriage Story, she crushed it in. So that's a good fucking year for you. Saoirse Ronan in Little Women is arguably kind of the lead role, and I think she was great in it. But I went with someone else that was in Little Women and a little something else, and kind of conflated those two roles into the Best Actress winner, and that is Florence Pugh, who was Amy in Little Women, was my favorite performer in Little Women, but not only that, she was fucking excellent in Midsommar. She was so good in Midsommar as kind of that main character there. That between those two performances, like, man, like she's like 23, 24, something like that, maybe 25. I don't know. Fucking early.
She was the
20s
main actress in Midsommar.
Midsommar, yeah, and she's one of the sisters in Little Women, and like Little Women, like I said, kind of floats between two timelines. So she actually plays both the younger and older versions. All of them play the younger and older versions. Although her character, I think, is supposed to be like 13, and she's very obviously not 13. It's just kind of a choice that they made to keep her around because she's so talented, and like even though she doesn't look younger, the way that she plays that character is convincingly like, oh, that's a fucking kid, that's a child, and then she still plays her as a more reserved adult that's grown up so well that it's almost a dual role in that sense. And then Midsommar is just like even the first like 10-15 minutes of that movie, kind of before before they go off to the festival, like I'm just like, yep, this was the Toni Collette and Hereditary moment. I'm sold. Midsommar's that's a fucked film right there. Ari Aster, what are you doing? But she was great in both, and so I picked her for Best Actress. So yeah, honorable mentions. I think maybe let's do this a little bit differently. Instead of alternating, why don't we just name our five, and we can elaborate if you want on our five, and then maybe we'll go back and forth for our top five films, and then that'll more or less be it for the episode.
To be honest with you, I only have one honorable mention that isn't in my top five films.
Okay, so you only have 6 total, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I rounded out my honorable mentions with I put a caveat of up to 5, and I picked 5. I guess you picked 1. Do you want me to go through 5, or do you want to name your 1? What do you want to do?
I'll just name my 1, and you can
all right, go for it.
All right,
then I'll just rattle on.
I have movies that are in my top 5, but the one that I didn't get to put in there was The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse. Okay, so it didn't crack the top 5, but it's right there. It's right there for you.
Yeah, it's right there for me. It's super creative, well shot, artistic, fucking art house film. Well acted. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the poetic structure of the movie. I thought it was very good, but I think there's movies that are slightly more compelling just above it. It wasn't as compelling as I wanted it to be. I've been pumped up about that movie for a long time.
Okay.
And it didn't quite deliver, but at the same time it did, if that makes sense. It's just not a mainstream movie. You know what I mean? It had different qualities about it, which is totally fine. But very well acted. I enjoyed the ending of the movie. Very good. I enjoyed it a whole lot. I enjoyed the way the movie was shot, how it was structured. I enjoyed everything about it. It's a movie that I can't share with a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I don't know. I'd enjoy it if you watched it and we could have a conversation about it. There's a lot to talk about, I think, and there's a lot to digest. But like I said, I can't. Sarah won't watch that movie. It's fucking out there.
I think it's a kind of a it's a niche movie for sure, and I get that. You could just see the trailer for that. This isn't for everyone, for sure.
So, anyways, that's number 6, if you will.
Okay. Well, I all 5 of my honorable mentions are movies that I've already talked about in some detail, I think. So I'm just going to spit them out in no particular order, mind you. Avengers Endgame is in my honorable mentions. Again, just maybe the most satisfying of any of these 10 films that I'm going to talk about. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Tarantino, Tarantino makes a fucking movie, you turn up for it, and I think this is probably my favorite Tarantino film since maybe Bastards, personally. I just really enjoyed it, and that third act also, much like Endgame, very different third act, but a super fucking entertaining third act, and I love Tarantino just saying fuck history is maybe my favorite thing, and that's maybe why I like this movie and Bastards so much. But it's great. Brad Pitt and Leo are both excellent. Margot Robbie is really fun in this movie too. A lot of fun, cool soundtrack, cool vibe. I liked everything about this movie. Booksmart was another honorable mention for me. Olivia Wilde's directorial debut. Great movie about 2 high schoolers who have been thinking that they've been doing it right by getting great grades and not partying, and then come to find out that the people that partied also got good grades and they're going to the same colleges that they are. So they have a night of debauchery to try to relive that experience and try to hang out with the cool kids. And it was a really, really great debut from Olivia Wilde. The 2 lead performers, Beanie Feldstein and Caitlin Dever, were both excellent. Super funny film. Hits home in kind of all the right ways of taking you back to your high school years and that kind of feeling. It does a great job of all that. Ford v Ferrari, great story, still the perfect dad movie, as we talked about. And the sound design alone is probably fucking worth your ticket, your Blu-ray at this point maybe, but great performances from Matt Damon and Christian Bale. Just a really, really fucking entertaining movie, and one I think that's going to be pretty rewatchable. And then one of my honorable mentions, this may surprise you, I'm sure it's in your top 5, is 1917.
Wow.
I think I enjoy it more for the technical standpoint than the way that it hit me personally. I guess I think the other ones hit me more emotionally for this or that reason. And 1917 for me is like, wow, this is a fucking incredible film. Not one that I have any intentions to rewatch anytime soon, but it's an incredible achievement in terms of filmmaking. But it's one that just maybe it's the number 6 for me, but it just didn't quite hit the emotional threshold. I think that the way that my top 5 did for me.
Well, I'm curious to hear your top 5 because that one.
And my top 5 are I think, as I probably have mentioned in episodes past, I like to do a combination of, these movies are really well made, but also I kind of want them to just be like things that I like, that hit me in a certain sort of way. And so it's not just it's not the best movies, it's the top 5 favorite. It's your favorite films of the year. It's not the best. What does best mean? Who knows? So it's my favorites. It's just, again, opinions are what they are. So yeah, top 5 films now. We can come to that. We'll alternate here. We'll go, we'll do in reverse order, starting at 5, work our way back to 1. And then that'll be it for the year in review, more or less. So number 5, top 5 films. Number 5. What do you have here?
Ad Astra is my number 5.
Oh, okay. All right. This was just outside my top 10 for the record. So number 5 is Ad Astra.
Number 5 was Ad Astra. I thought it was an artistic. It wasn't quite Blade Runner 2049. That's kind of what it's kind of vibe I was searching for, but it's cool. It's an interesting take on the future. I thought it was a cool movie. I don't know. Number 5, science.
Yeah,
it's the one science fiction movie we have that I have on here.
I see.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Ad Astra, it's such an unexpectedly personal film. Yeah, Star Wars is not in my fucking top 5. Let's put it that way. No. Yeah, Astra's a really good film. It's another one I'd like to rewatch. It's definitely one I'll pick up at some point, add to the collection. But such a unexpectedly personal film for like the genre. Like, why did they spend so much money on it? Probably because Fox knew they were about to be sold or whatever. But like, fuck, it was a cool movie, and I'm glad that they made it. Yeah, that's a good call. My number 5 is Jojo Rabbit. I know you didn't see it.
No.
I was hoping you'd be able to see it in time for recording this, but I love Jojo Rabbit. I thought it was excellent. Taika Waititi, directing, starring as Adolf Hitler. I mean, what the fuck? But like, it's so funny in its own sort of irreverent way of, I mean, just the concept is just what the fuck of here's this kid who's growing up in Nazi Germany whose imaginary best friend is Adolf Hitler as portrayed by, fucking Taika Waititi, just that description alone is just being like, oh boy, what is this? But he manages to inject the right amount of humor into it, the right amount of discomfort into it, just the right amount of everything. And there's a lot of the performances by the children in it is really, really good. I don't know the main actor's name, but he's great. He has his best friend who's like this goofy guy who's so funny. It's adorable. Scarlett Johansson is amazing. She plays his mom. And Taika Waititi is great. And the evolution that we see in this character of Jojo Rabbit, the character throughout the film is really, really incredible, and all to this backdrop of, you get Nazi Germany and the propaganda of the Nazis and how that infiltrates, the brains of the youth and how they reconcile that. And it's a really, really fascinating look at that, and it does it really, really exceptionally well, I thought. And yeah, I highly recommend it. I was expecting to like it, I've always enjoyed all of Taika Waititi's past works, and this one was kind of just being like, okay, how's this one gonna go given its circumstances, what it's about and such, but it was really, really well done, I thought. So number 5 for me. What's your number 4?
Number 4, Ford v Ferrari.
All right. Vroom vroom.
Yeah, I enjoyed the shit out of this movie. I thought it was very
Cars
kinetic.
go fast?
Yeah. Kinetic. A lot of fun, well acted, historically accurate, or I don't want to say historic. Yeah, maybe I should correct that.
For the most part, yeah.
Historical movie though. Fucking America movie. Which is kind of cool.
America.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Right. That's
coming to save the motherfucking day. Yeah, America. All right, we're done.
It's cool, right? Fucking America. Anyways, Ken Jennings, that's fucking American. All sorts of America going on in this movie.
Ken Jennings or Ken Miles? Ken Miles is not American in this movie.
Ken Jennings?
Ken Jennings is the Jeopardy guy that's quite good at it.
He's fucking American too, which is cool. Anyways, yeah, had a lot of fun during this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot else to say about this movie other than it was fucking cool. That's it. It was just
Cars
cool.
go fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
well acted.
Again, it's such a rewatchable movie too. Great actors, great performances in it. And it's a good fucking story. And even if you're not feeling the America rah rah kind of spirit, like it's a really cool kind of story of just like the context of like what was happening in the racing scene at that time, of Ferrari being the dominant force, and then America just coming in and saying, "Hey, they could fucking do this too, right?" In comes Carroll Shelby, Ken Miles, Lee Iacocca, and there you go. It's good. It's good. All right, my number 4. I don't think I've said my number 4. Have I said it? No, I have not. Number 4 for me is Marriage Story. Talked about the strong performances in it, and I mean, honestly, those are enough to kind of carry this movie. Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson are wonderful in this. Laura Dern plays the lawyer for Scarlett Johansson's character, and she's also great. Ray Liotta plays a lawyer for Adam Driver's character, and also over the top and entertaining in all the right ways. It's a deep fucking story that kind of, again, it feels so personal, and I can tell that it was coming from a personal space from the director. And man, it, from the opening note and the way that the film develops, the way that it kind of spools out information to you, and the way that like the characters have to kind of deal with certain things as things go, it feels so authentic, it feels genuine, it feels real, and it feels just hard hitting. And then by the final note of this film, I was in tears for sure. I mean, I was getting pretty emotional throughout, but then, man, I was just laying in bed. It's on Netflix, so you can fucking watch it. Anyone can watch this shit. Everyone has fucking Netflix at this point. I was feeling it. I tell you what, I had a fucking dream about this movie the night after I watched it.
Damn, dude. Yeah.
I mean, not specifically about this movie, but I could tell that it was clearly inspired by the film. There's this one scene where Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson have a huge blowout, you know, super intense, going at each other. It's, you know, nasty. And, you know, it was just like shocking to watch. And it's kind of, I think, the one scene that if anyone knows anything about this movie has probably seen pieces of it. And I felt that, like, it must have seeped into my core because I internalized that shit and had a dream about it as part of my current relationship. And I woke up thinking it was a fucking real thing that had happened. And,
No.
like, it was so, it was intense. We figured it out, and, you know, I'm still mad at her for doing things in the dream that she shouldn't have done. But, you know, we've worked out our differences, so it's fine. But no. I mean, that was, it really just hit me. And like, that's how I could tell that it hit me. Is like, I don't really remember my dreams, but the fact that I had a fucking dream inspired by this movie was just like, holy shit. But there's 3 movies that, I guess, maybe they didn't inspire dreams, but they hit me in other ways, too, that made them a little bit higher on my list. So what's your number 3?
Number 3 for me is Knives Out.
Ooh.
I thought Knives Out was incredibly original, well acted, a lot of fun, and just, I don't know, man, just a really awesome movie. Like, movies like Knives Out don't come out very often, and I thought
for sure.
I thought it was really cool, and that's pretty much it on it. I don't have a lot to say about it other than wholeheartedly original, well made,
and you know what the real thing to say is, hey, we fucking talked about these movies. I mean, for the most part,
we
right?
did.
You know,
yeah, totally.
We had an Ad Astra episode. We had a fucking what was your number 4? We had an episode on whatever it was.
Ford versus Ferrari. Yep.
We had an episode on that. We had an episode on Knives Out. Maybe we had an episodes on your 2 and 1. I'm not sure. We'll find out. But either way, like, you want to hear Andrew's thoughts on this? You go listen to our fucking episode. We're plugging ourselves. You heard it here first, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's it.
So, you know, this is just, you know, kind of recapping things and like honoring like the good shit that came out. But like, if you really want exhaustive thoughts, like,
they're there.
Feel free. You know, and some of these we didn't do. I mean, obviously Marriage Story I just saw fucking 2 days ago, and obviously we didn't talk about it and you haven't seen it, but like, so maybe I'm elaborating a little bit more. But for the things that we did happen to cover, like, go listen to our episodes on it. Like, you know, not only is it more exhaustive, it's like that's the in the moment stuff, like that's the immediate reactions, and now this is maybe a little bit more reflective and such, but like clearly if you're making your top 5 for the fucking year,
it made
what
an
we
impact,
felt then
right?
still is with us now, right? You know, so yeah. My number 3 is Little Women, which I've talked about a few times on this episode. It's probably not a shock that it appears on this list. I think because it feels so authentic is why I think it hits me so hard, and you know, and this is another movie that made me emotional. You know, there's a few obviously like kind of emotional points in this movie where you're intended to feel certain ways because of things that happen, and it's, you know, whether it's for this reason or for like a romantic reason where you think, oh man, I think there's so many elements in this film that just feel genuine to these characters. And I think what I've liked about this particular adaptation is that whereas Joe is kind of the main character, and I think most of the other adaptations of this, and I think basically the novel itself, this movie did a little bit more to flesh out its other characters, the other sisters and the March family, to give them a little bit more presence, to give them a little bit more autonomy to who they are, to understand what they're all about. So Saoirse Ronan, Emma Watson, Florence Pugh, and Eliza Scanlon are the sisters. Laura Dern plays their mother. Timothée Chalamet is kind of a romantic figure in this, friend, / romantic figure. Meryl Streep's in it as the aunt of the family. So it's a really great cast. Everyone's great in it, and it's kind of a classic story for anyone kind of familiar with Little Women. But it's maybe the best version of it. I mean, I haven't seen every fucking adaptation of it. Don't get me wrong, but I was really, really struck by it in terms of how it was structured, the alternating timelines, the performances, the set design, the costume design. It all feels it's just one of those productions, just a labor of love. And even though this is a story that's been told multiple times, that's been around for hundreds or almost hundreds of years, it's still one that's relevant today. And that's why it kind of, I think, works so well, is you believe these characters, and you live with these characters, and you feel for them, and the hardships that they go through hit you the way that they do, and the successes that they have sit with you as well. So Little Women, my number 3. Good one. Number 2, what do you have?
Parasite.
Oh,
Parasite is my number 2.
okay.
Easily one of the most thought-invoking films of 2019. It did not hit me emotionally, but it made me think a whole lot. I thought it was well acted. I thought that the plot points and everything else were just awesome. That was a very well-made, well-conceived, well-acted movie. And for that reason, I picked it as my number 2. Everybody should watch Parasite, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's now on fucking Blu-ray. It's definitely out on digital, so now you're out of excuses. It's not, I don't think it's streaming anywhere, but, eventually it probably will be. So, but yeah, it's I'll talk about Parasite maybe soon. It's again, as we kind of, I think, alluded to earlier, maybe just outright said earlier, go in blind if you can. Don't set expectations of what it's supposed to be about, what it is, what is this movie. Just watch it, experience it. I think that's the best way to do it, really, though. Parasite is not my number 2 film. You can probably figure out by default where it would be if it's not number 2. My number 2 film is Knives Out.
Good pick.
Because Knives Out is excellent. I mean, that's why it's fucking number 2, really. Great cast. It's got a little bit of everything in it, man. It's a great design. The house is really interesting and well designed, and makes for a great setting for the film. You got this fun whodunit story, and again, maybe it's not the most surprising in terms of the literal whodunit, but there's still joy in seeing how the plot unfolds. It's still a little bit unexpected in terms of how it tells you the story. And Daniel Craig, man, Benoit Blanc is is a delight. A donut hole in the donut's hole, but we must look a little closer. And when we do, we see that the donut hole has a hole in its center. It is not a donut hole at all, but a smaller donut with its own hole. And our own donut is not a hole at all.
Yeah, it's totally fucking stupid. Yeah, it's good.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. I mean, that's the kind of shit, like, how do you come up with that? How do you come up with that? And then if you're Daniel Craig, how do you look at that on a page and think, I'm gonna fucking own this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna own this fucking line. And he does. Chris Evans is great. Ana de Armas is excellent. Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, Don the fucking Johnson, Toni Collette. Don the fucking Johnson and Watchmen, by the way. Just another reason for you to watch
Is he really?
it. Yep. Lakeith Stanfield, Catherine Langford. I mean, look at that fucking cast. Christopher Plummer.
It's stupid. It is stupid.
Stupid cast. Stupidly good cast. Stupidly fun movie. Stupidly funny movie, you know, hits on, you know, the Nazi boy masturbate in the bathroom line. You know, like, it's a funny movie. It's well delivered. And it's just kind of, it's just, I don't, this is a rewatchable film. I have to think, you know, I cannot wait to see this movie again. Like, this is the kind of movie that I really, really loved coming out. Really thought it was a great time. And then it's one of those things, I don't think it's thought-provoking necessarily, but I just think more on it. I'm like, I really fucking like that movie.
Yeah, it's
I want to watch that fucking
right.
movie again. So that's where I'm at with Knives Out, and that's why I put it at number 2. So your number 1, I know what it is, but let's tell the listeners.
You know what it is?
I know
How
what it
can
is.
you guess what it is?
You fucking told us what it was a couple episodes ago.
Listen, 1917 is the best movie I saw in fucking 2019. Easy. I sought out further films to try to put its fire out. But 1917 hit me in ways that I cannot describe, in ways that a movie has not hit me in a very long time. It told the story of a fucking soldier. It was less concerned about the war itself and more concerned about the person. It was a very intimate. You know, I told my buddy Robbie, you know, he says, oh, World War I's a really interesting time period in, like, human history. You have people on horses, like, just cavaliering against cannons and firearms, and it's just a very super brutal period in human history. It's very unlike other war periods and stuff. It's just it's an interesting period to tell a story. And this movie is very, I didn't want to really let him down like this, but this movie is very not concerned about, like, how war was conducted in World War One. It was very much concerned about the people that were conducting the warfare. You know what I mean? It was concerned about a person. And it didn't matter if this movie was told during World War One or World War Two or fucking Vietnam or whatever. You could have easily told the story apart from any other time period, and it could have been told very well, because it's a personal film about a fucking soldier and what it is to be a soldier and what it is to, you know, to walk in those boots. And it, like I said, it just, I don't know. It rocked me to the core. The part that fucking rocked me the most was when he found the place he was supposed to be and they were singing that song. That fucking song.
Right.
Oh man. That song, and yeah, the baby in the scene before was awesome too. And when he lost his partner, that was fucking heart-wrenching. I mean, just sequence after sequence, there were different things that hit me for different reasons. And the fact that it was told with one shot made the story that much more intimate, you know? And the fact the way the story began, the way the story ended, made it that much more intimate. And it was just incredibly well realized, the story that Sam Mendes wanted to tell. And it was, I don't know, man. It was a quote-unquote, for the second time tonight, I am saying tour de force. Yes. Very well shot, very well realized, very well acted. Just all the way around an incredible film. It really was. And like I said, it impacted me more than, because I feel like 1917 was a very, you know, I kind of like something like The Lighthouse to impact me this way. Something that, you know, is kind of like on the fringe of, like, you know, nobody really knows this movie and I can kind of like introduce it to people, but everybody saw the trailers for 1917. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a blockbuster movie. I feel like, But
well, I mean, it did well at box office and stuff. So yeah, obviously people saw it.
right, exactly. And I kind of like things that are kind of at the fringe to where I can introduce them to things like this to do better. But at the same time, this is it's just absolutely an incredible movie. And I don't know. Like I said, I tried to watch things a little bit more at the fringe, like Lighthouse and Parasite and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, Parasite I think was better than Lighthouse, but yeah, it just didn't resonate the way that 1917 did with me. Yeah, easily best movie of the year for me, 100%.
Well, I think much in the way that there was probably not any doubt what your number one was. There is no doubt that my number one at this point, obviously, is in fact Parasite. Again, I wish I had seen it a little bit more recently to talk about it in more depth, but as I've kind of talked about on this episode, man, this movie's got everything in it. I mean, Wikipedia calls it a dark comedy thriller. I mean, what even the fuck is that, right?
It's outstanding is what it is. It's a good movie. It's a fucking incredible movie.
It's such a creative movie. The screenplay is it's just wild. The turns that it takes, everything that it does, the directing, the design behind it, the everything. I mean, fuck, man. And I'm so glad that I was able to experience it the way that I've been touting, of just go in and experience it and see what it is. And I didn't know what was coming, and I didn't know what to expect. I had some vague idea of, the son in the family was going to go be a tutor. And that was kind of what I knew about this movie. And that's not this movie at all. It's way deeper than that. But it's an experience, man. And I think 1917 is absolutely a fucking experience. But Parasite just kind of shocked me with how wild it was. I think 1917 is a pretty linear story told through this amazing lens in a way that enhances that story to the point where we've never seen it, and they've been able to feel it in the way that we felt that movie, which is why I liked it as much as I did. It's why I put it as an honorable mention. But Parasite kind of rocked me to my core of not only just being this well-made movie with all these things that are the marks of a good film, but just talking about classes in society and hitting on that notion in this kind of extreme way, and bending genres, the thriller genre, and still being comedic and having these really dark and sometimes gruesome aspects of it. And by the end of this film, I was just blown away. It sticks to the landing, keeps you invested the whole way, and it really just rewards you. It's a film that rewards you. And 1917 is a film that rewards you as well. But man, Parasite is just this. Man, it's just this kind of behemoth, man. It really is. And I hope that Parasite. I hope 1917. I hope Parasite, and hope some of these other films just clean up with the Academy Awards and stuff like that. And I hope fucking Joker gets shut out of everything that it's possible to get shut out of. But man, Parasite, Bong Joon-ho, everyone in this film, involved in this film, just absolute props. I just really, really, I love this film, and I can't wait to watch it again. I'm very excited to be able to experience it again for a second time, and I think even knowing what's to come, I think that I'll still fucking enjoy this film, and just the anticipation of things to come will make it still exciting in other respects too. So.
My number two movie. Yeah, we're right there with each other, pretty much.
Right, yeah. I mean, we were lock and step, I think, for a lot of them. I think there's a few I had on here that you hadn't seen, and it's not the first time it happens, and that's just how it goes. So there you have it, folks. That's our top five. It's our honorable mentions. It's our everything for the year. I know we're running long, but I do want to quickly do a quick version of the Listener's Corner. The 2019 A Year in Review edition, which is to say that I have a couple people that have sent me their rankings of films for 2019, and I'm just going to quickly go through them just to shout them out. So first up is Anna, who has so graciously sent me her top 10 for the year. And there's a lot of crossover. We've seen a lot of these movies together. We've spent many times having conversations about these movies, so it's not surprising that there's a lot of crossover in how we felt about these movies. But alas, I'm just going to list them out 1 through 10. These are ranked in order, number 1 being her favorite, 10 being her 10th favorite. You get it. She has number 1 as Parasite, followed by Little Women, Booksmart, Frozen 2, Knives Out, Ford v Ferrari, Jojo Rabbit, Spider-Man Far From Home, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Those are her top 10 for 2019. A very good list, if I do say so myself. And regular contributor and sometimes host, Enrique Jamie, has also chipped in with his top 10 of the year. And Henry's top 10, again, number 1 being his favorite, number 10 being the 10th favorite. Number 1 is Parasite, number 2, Knives Out, number 3, Uncut Gems, which didn't make my top 10 personally. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at number 4, Marriage Story, 1917, Little Women, The Farewell, Avengers Endgame, and The Last Black Man in San Francisco at number 10. We had The Lighthouse at number 11, though, just FYI. And so there you have it. There's just a little bit of the listener's corner for you. Let's wrap this thing up so Andrew can get some sleep. Me too, to be honest. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. Patreon is a good way to support us if you are so inclined. $2 a month gets you access to all bonus episodes, including, hopefully, the episodes we'll be talking about The Mandalorian and The Witcher in a little bit more depth, as we've talked about, as we alluded to earlier. And you also get early access to all of our regular episodes. Just head to patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat or watchreviewrepeat.com, which is our website, and click the premium tab in the top left and click the Become a Patron button. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we can be found at WRRPod. You can like us on Facebook by just searching for Watch Review Repeat. Questions, comments, suggestions. Maybe you're late to the party and you have some thoughts on your favorites from 2019 that you want to share with us. We'd be happy to hear about that. Send that to us at watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com or get in contact with us at the socials we just talked about. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Thank you all so much for sticking with us for another year of Watch Review Repeat. Hope you enjoyed our coverage of 2019, and we hope that you can look forward to our coverage of 2020, which is what we're going to be talking about next. A look ahead to the films that 2020 promises, the TV shows that 2020 promises. I know we got Sonic the Hedgehog to look forward to, which is very exciting, of course. But I'm sure there's many, many others that we can talk about and speculate about endlessly. And so speculate we shall. So 2020 look ahead will be our next episode, and then we'll be diving into the goodies that 2020 is bringing us. There we have it. All right. Thank you, guys. Andrew's going to take you out.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Later's on the Menjay.